today in association with Slattery's of Pecan, your main Peugeot dealer for over 50 years in the Premier County. Slattery'sGarage.ie.
Good morning, welcome along to Tipp today, 1800 938 007. That's our free phone number. It won't cost you if you'd like to call us, and Leanne is producing as usual. Coming up on the show this morning, we'll be speaking to Cllr Michael Chicken Brennan in just a few moments' time, because he's tabled a motion for an animal welfare committee. The broadcaster Jonathan Ryan will talk to us about genealogy and indeed the great CBC radio station. Former US Airforce pilot Bernie Goldbach will be with us in studio to talk to us about the recent attempt on Donald Trump's life. The ever-growing world of AI, that conversation continues on as well. We have a multi-generational concertina group live in studio, and we'll be speaking to Dr. Mary Ryan, who will look at these fake weight loss drugs. So all of that and much, much more on the way. You can text and WhatsApp 083 311 3311. You can email tiptoday@tippfm.com. Let's have a look at the front pages. And because it's Wednesday, the local publications are on your shelves. The Nina Guardian, the main story on the Guardian. The headline there, landowners sign up for pipeline. Uisce Éireann has made 153 compensation payments to farmers and landowners impacted by the planned pipeline between Partine and the Eastern and Midlands region. To the Tipperary Star. The main stories there, complex issue of living on boats at Lough Derg. And Thurles Heritage Trail hits the top 12 spots in the town. The Nationalist, the main story on the Nationalist today, Eamon Lacey tells us that the site of a 122-unit housing development in Clonmel is one of those affected by the appointment of provisional liquidators to 13 construction companies in the High Court this week. And also on the front of the Nationalist, a councillor says that he is gobsmacked, disappointed and frustrated that Tipperary County Council hasn't cordoned off the area around the derelict facade of a former pub on Carrigashaw's Main Street. Now, the councillor in question there, Councillor Kieran Burke. Let's have a look at the national papers. The Irish Times, and they're leading with the story that Spanish authorities have frozen Jerry Hutch's property assets in the country as part of an ongoing money laundering investigation into the gangland figure who plans to run in the by-election in Dublin next month. Also on the Times today, a French woman who lived in Dublin has been charged with the murder of her 29-year-old daughter in a suspected botched murder-suicide in Iceland last year that also claimed the life of her husband. The Irish Daily Mail, and the lead story on the Mail today, one that has social media chattering over the last 48 hours. Ukrainians will have to prove they are self-sufficient to be allowed to remain in Ireland and be placed on a pathway to citizenship, according to the Mail. And confidential documents obtained by the Mail detail plans for the end of the temporary protection directive. Watchdog warns solicitors on big fees for release of wills is the headline on the Irish Independent today. The legal services watchdog has criticised the practice of solicitors charging hundreds of euro for the release of wills stored on their premises. And finally, we have a look at the Irish Examiner. And they're leading with the story that European police are alarmed at the rise of an online network, mainly composed of children, which encourages and coerces juveniles to inflict extreme violence on themselves or other people. That is very frightening indeed. Also reading on the Examiner today that Europe is heating up faster than any other continent in the world, but mixed messaging about climate change risks stalling the decisive action which needs to be taken. Experts have warned. We're also reading on the Examiner today, and it's a happy story, a good news story, and God knows we need them. Up to 1,500 residents of the village of Adair in County Limerick have received a Ryder Cup present in the post. Complimentary passes to golf's biggest event, and the passes will give access to each of the 3 tournament days from September 13th to 15th next year. They're valued at around €1,500. So it's a nice one. Now, I presume there's some sort of a mechanism there where they can't be sold on, but still, if you're into golf, it's a nice one. Do you want to make comment on any of that? And if you do, once again, you can text and WhatsApp 083 311 3311. Now, there's no need for the local authority to establish an animal welfare committee in Tipperary. Meeting has heard Cllr Michael Chicken Brennan tabled a motion at the April plenary meeting of Tipperary County Council calling for the establishment of a dedicated animal welfare committee to improve animal welfare right across the Premier County. And Councillor Brennan is with me in studio. Good morning to you, Michael.
Morning, Fran, and good morning to your listeners.
And thanks for coming in to us today. Are you disappointed at the reaction to the motion, Michael?
I was very disappointed, Fran, and I suppose firstly I was disappointed that that meeting and that plenary meeting on that day was a remotely meeting that we didn't have everyone in the chamber, where you can really have a good debacle on the situation, like, you know, and the importance of the motion and the public realm that's out there for the animal welfare of the horses that we see being treated on our roads, especially when we come down to sulky activity on our roads. And I was, you know, I had great support going into that meeting from a number of councillors, like, you know what I mean. I would have been very confident if we had to have a motion and a vote, we would have gotten through with it.
It was right across the park.
It was right across, yeah. And we had a good nearly 2 hours of a debate on it and the whole lot. And I suppose for me, like, it was very disappointing that we're going down the road now of going to the SPC, the Environment and Climate Action Strategy SPC Committee, and that's where we're going the 20th, and that meeting has been forward to facilitate us. But I just felt like that, not saying the newer group of councillors, but anyone elected in the last maybe election of 25 and from 19 to 25 had been very well supportive of it, like, you know. And if we go back then further into councils that are maybe in their third and fourth, I just felt like there wasn't the commitment coming from them. Even
though they said they supported you in principle, but did they show reservations?
They showed reservations and that, like. But like we've had too many years of reservations in relation to this, Fran, because it's been going on and on and on, and, you know, it has to be dealt with now, and we need to take action on it. And like, well and good, like, I won't stop fighting at this until we get this through, like, you know what I mean. And I'll be well prepared for the SPC and my presentation to them on that day as well. But like, I know they were saying that, like, the sentiments of the motion were good, and others were referring it back to the Animal Welfare Act of 26 to 2030, like. But as I said, the people on the streets, the people on the public, the people on the roads can't wait for this to happen, because we're also dealing with road safety here as well because of the issues that come with it. But the cruelty that comes to the horses on the roads, you know, and even since we were supposed to have our walk down the town, you know, we've seen several incidents happening on the road again. And only there last Sunday week, we had a horse that collapsed, and, you know, and the way he was treated, pulled up and taken out again and made to move off, like, you know.
So this is
it's a serious thing. But
I don't understand why you were told by the Chief Executive that the County Council does not hold responsibility for animal welfare, because, I mean, they would have jurisdiction over the dog wardens, for example.
They'd have jurisdiction over dog wardens, and like, we pay out enough of money within the council in removing horses off the road and looking after them. Now, I had a couple of questions that would have gone in, parliamentary questions that would have gone to the Department of Agriculture from Minister there, and, you know, like, under the Animal Health Welfare Act 2013, including on Garda Síochána, a customs agent, local authorities. So they have a responsibility in his replies.
Even though the claim is that there's no statutory mandate in the area.
Well, look, Fran, there is, because we're letting a lot of these horses and animals that are stored on our own land, council land, and we're turning a blind eye to it, like, you know what I mean. We have them in graveyards, we have them in public places, and we as a council are not taking action on it.
Why is that?
I have a feeling that there's possibly, I definitely want to say one thing. I do feel there's no backbone in the council to deal with this, to take this face on and deal with it.
That's a big statement, Michael.
I know it's a big statement, Fran, but look, why is it constantly happening on our roads? Why is it constantly happening in the county? We are one of the worst counties in Ireland with a history of this and not dealing with it. Now, when I set out to this motion, there was a template that was set up in Kilkenny County Council. There was very little we had to do only to implement this. Now, I know they were saying on a resources level and a budget and the whole lot, but I'm looking back at the budget and the monies that were spent within the department within the department in the council of the dog warden, other animal welfare services, including horses, and several support costs. In 2024, that budget was 957,000 €100,000. In 2025, it was 806,100,000 €. Right? To date, for the removal of horses up to March, we have paid out 47,000. And that's only for the removal, and we're not getting the full figures there, because the horses, when they're taken in off a road or wherever they're taken from, they have to be picked up, taken to a vet. They have to be held until they're properly looked after and treated right, and then they either go back to their owners or they go to an animal rescue welfare. But I do feel like the Tipperary County Council have turned a blind eye on this. Up to years ago, there used to be the Garda Síochána, the Department of Agriculture, Food and Marine, and the Tipperary County Council used to meet, I think, quarterly to discuss these issues. And that hasn't happened for a number of years. And I've sent in requests to know when was the last meeting of that, where was the money that was coming to fund that budget, and also why did it stop, and why have we the situations that we have in our own county here today. And as I said, and I said it at the meeting, that I didn't think the steel is in the council at the top level to deal with this. And while it's all very good and it comes in under the remit of climate, I think we'd rather be seeing new electric vehicles on the road than looking at the safety and the welfare of our roads and the horses.
Right, so you're not convinced referring this to the SPC is going to be effective? Referring
to FCC is going to put a tougher task on us to try and get it through, like, you know what I mean? But we will be well prepared, and like, you know, it's something that's not going to go away. It won't go away. But like, it's the public are crying out for it, Fran. You know what I mean? And they can't understand it, that even remarks that were made by the CEO in relation to that, as you commented there yourself, is very disappointing to think that we're not taking this on and dealing with it. Especially, as I said, it's working well in Kilkenny County Council. They've been the leading light for a lot of things.
And have they a committee similar to what you proposed? They have a committee
similar to what... That motion and the model of that whole thing was set up on what they've done in Kilkenny.
Of course, the claim, I think it was Roger Kennedy said that his fear is this would end up being a talking shop of some kind, then without teeth and without
the amount of effort that I'm putting into this, friend, and the amount of people that are willing to support me, and the people that have constantly ring me. I get telephone calls from Dublin, Limerick, everywhere, and they're happy with the work that we're doing, and they would love to see it happening in some of their counties as well.
Yes.
But there will be plenty of teeth in it if they support it.
Right. The march?
We're going back with our march because on the 11th of April we cancelled it due to we had the fuel protests around the county, and like, you know, it was a big news story, and we felt for both safety and also for the level of the seriousness of what we want to portray on that day with the march, of people coming out to be able to voice and show their public support against and fight for what we're looking for, that we decided we go with a new date, and the new date that we've decided to go with is Saturday fortnight, the 9th of Saturday week, the 9th of May, same venue again, Irish Town, the car park beside the church. 3 p.m. and the speakers as well will be there. We'll be down at the plaza walking through the town in a peaceful walk down the town. Right now,
some fears emerged that there might be some sort of a counter protest around the last date that you had decided on. Michael, have you fears?
Yeah, look, Fran, I've been working with the guards. I've been working with the civil defence. We've had our side of the street all looked after on what we had to do. We have our safety plan. We have our method statement gone in. We have our rule plan gone in. So the guards were very happy with what we have, so we'll be just moving that on to the next day, and it covers everything again. If there's a counter protest, well, that's I would presume that the list of stuff that I had to produce for us to have our march would be reciprocated to if anyone is having a council protest, and they do the same as well, and I shouldn't see that there would be any trouble. And if there is one, I'd be surprised if there is, because at the end of the day we picked that date and we've come out, and there's not many places I see where you have a rally or you have a walk or peaceful walk in a protest or whatever it be, that you see a counter march to it unless somebody's coming in looking for trouble, and that's it.
You've spoken to the Gardaí, though.
I've spoken to the guard, and I've been liaising with Sergeant on duty there, and as I said, everything was very happy to go. We didn't pull it for 4 o'clock on that Friday evening, and everything that they required was in.
Right. And do you think you still have the same support?
We still have the same support and more. Like, as I said, since that was cancelled, a lot of people are disappointed it was cancelled. As I said, there's numerous telephone calls coming into me and messages and emails from other counties in relation to what we're doing and supporting of us. Like, I have people coming down from Dublin. A couple of school teachers are coming down because they support what we're doing, and they would be delighted to see it happening in their counties.
A couple of quick things for you as well. The condition of that Feather to Killinall road is pretty appalling. You've been pointing that out.
Yeah, look, Fran, I suppose it's been well highlighted now and documented. I have brought it up several times at municipal district meetings. I've had our district engineer out twice driving it with me in the initial starts of the work. That road has been left in a horrendous state, Fran. Within the first 100 metres of that road, we got 3 kind of humps, rise backs, and that's where it started. And then as they went further on digging and going deeper down to the ground laying of the pipes, and we welcomed the water infrastructure improvements coming into Killinall and bringing a better supply of water into us. But the state that road has been left has been just absolutely horrendous. It's hazardous. I went as far as saying at our municipal district meeting on last Thursday in Carrick that we're lucky to date we haven't had any serious crashes on that road. We've had a lot of instances where springs have been broken in cars, tyres have been damaged. Like only 2 weeks ago, a lorry broke 2 springs in it. We have the agricultural sector that won't travel on the road. They have a highly sided load of hay or straw. I was talking to a farmer there at the weekend at a thing in Cllr there, and the tractor run, and even transporting cattle to the mart, they don't go on that road.
Who has responsibility? I mean, if a body like Uisce Éireann does major work on a road, resulting in issues then with the surface, who has the responsibility over that?
Well, at the end of the day, it is the Tipperary County Council give the contracts out, and it went to Uisce Éireann, and Uisce Éireann shared it down to Sharebridge, and then it went down to another contractor after that then. So, at the end of the day, to me, it falls back in Tipperary County Council, because, there should have been a clerk of the works watching that road being done, you know what I mean? And the way they left it, even, there could be maybe 18 inches of a gap between that and the grass margin, and you'd be pulled into it, they fitted manhole covers that were well below the height of the road that created. I myself can't keep tyres on my Jeep. I never had a problem with tyres on my Jeep, and I'm after putting, in the last 6 months, there's 2 new sets of tyres gone in it. One set of tyres only had 5,000 on it, and there was airbags gone, there was, and that's a regular thing that comes into me from people. The daily users of this road that are travelling to work, they're the people I feel sorry for, because they're paying their road tax, and they're also travelling that road. And the thing about it is, Fran, that from what we understand, there's only going to be reinstatements done on where the little bits of damage are, where we have the divots and the depressions and the whole lot. But actually, if you were to ever go out on that road and drive it, you would know yourself.
Right. But you're saying to me there's a possibility of an accident there?
It's only a matter, if anyone on a motorbike hits the wrong thing there, they're in trouble. If a car, what you have happening at the moment is a lot of cars are driving either facing towards Killinall or coming to Feather. And if they think there's no traffic coming against them, they're trying to drive in the middle of the road to avoid hitting the depressions that are on the road and the rises. So people are swerving at times to get back in because they do not want to damage their cars. And I've had people damage their cars coming from work in Abbott in the night time. I've had carers, SNAs have damaged their cars on that road, and these are the people that keep our country going.
Have you any guarantees that this is going to be sorted? Have you?
The only guarantees we have on this is that there's going to be reinstatements works done, but there will not be a full road resurface on that road.
And that's what it needs.
That's what it needs as far as it's gone now, because the camber, everything is wrong in it. Everything is wrong in it.
Before I let you go, the government's moved to wind down state accommodation for about 16,000 Ukrainians. Michael, you've been housing Ukrainians for a number of years. What do you make of this?
Yeah, look, we've had Ukrainians as well. I suppose, look, Jim O'Callaghan, when he took that role of that position and dealing with immigration, was a big thing for him. And, we have to, we do have our own shortage of accommodation for people. I see it on the SPCA housing. I see the frustrations of people trying to get on the list and the allocations. And, we have a cohort of people there that are single people that are not able to get a house at the moment, like, you know what I mean, even only one bed, and let it be social housing. But I suppose, look, you know, I think as a country we can look up and say we've done our best, and we did more than our best, and we've looked after everyone that has come into our country on the Ukrainian side of things and given it to them. And I know, like, we have to start releasing holiday homes or houses back into the market for ourselves.
So even though you've been housing Ukrainians, you go along with this then, do you?
Well, look, like the way I look at it is, friend, right? I had a couple of Ukrainian people in Clr that came to me in relation to, they were on the ARP, and some of them were in houses that were at the goodwill that was given at the start. People took them in the whole lot, and some of them that came there in the last couple of weeks where the ARP was running out. They came to me. We put the feeders out for a couple of people in other that had properties in Clr the whole lot. But then people walked and knocked on every door in the street of Clr, and you know, the good side of it is, for one family, was they found a house again. And they went and rented it, like, you know what I mean? So, like, they're working now in our society. You know, these people have jobs, and they're willing to pay their way.
And I don't want to invade their privacy, but the Ukrainian people living with you, are they working now?
All our Ukrainian people are working, and the latest girl of them to work is a girl that finished her school in Leaving Cert, and she is doing a CE scheme now inside in Federer, which is what you want.
And are they aware of this now, and are they preparing to leave?
Well, I suppose we haven't really sat down and had a discussion with him yet, because, like, you know, it's a big what would I say? It's a big upstairt farm, like, you know what I mean. So, like, we'll sit down in due course.
You only have, what is it, 3 months?
We only have five. We've only 5 and one in ARP.
But I mean, in terms of sorting this, you have 3 months to do so, haven't you?
We have until September, I think. Yeah. So but like, we'll be sitting down and, like, we'll be doing our best to relocate him and find a place for him, because as I said.
But isn't that the problem, that, you know, these people will be out there now looking for accommodation, and everybody's looking for accommodation now. So.
Well, that'll be it again, like, you know. So we're going to be trying to find places for the people that are on our own housing list and looking for accommodation, and people working coming into the places. But, like, these are resilient people, Fran. You know, some of them have the option of going back if it's safe enough. They will go back, I know. But at the moment,
there's a package going to be made available for them to go back.
To repatriate back and all that, yeah. But, like, you know, we won't be, like, you know, we they were the original ones that came to us, are the ones that we have. And as I said, they're all working. They're working in the meat factory. They're working in different places, and it's good that they did get back into the workforce here, like. And
just before I let you go, somebody wondering, would you think about changing the time of the march to accommodate people who might be going shopping on the day, for example?
Well, I suppose, like,
somebody saying 5 p.m. would be more suitable.
Yeah, we've looked at kind of all options on that, and speaking with the guards and the whole lot, like, you know, Saturday mornings, we have a lot of people that are coming that have children going to blitzes and matches and the whole lot. Okay. So, like, we felt that 3 o'clock was the best time, and I hope people can come out. And this is the chance that people are getting. Like, every time I put a post up on Facebook or wherever we put it up in relation to when we see an inactivity of a sulky on the road, we get loads of comments. We get to 500 and 600 comments, and I'm asking them people to come out and support this, and don't feel intimidated, because that's what I do. And I want them to feel that they can come out and feel that way. And, you know, we will have everything in order. We'll have our safety and the whole lot. We'll have our marshals, we'll have the guards, we'll have the civil defence. So it'll be a well-ran march. So I'm asking the people to come out and support it on the 9th of May. At 3 p.m.
Thanks for coming.
Frank, can I just mention one thing before we go there?
Sure.
I'm on the board of the Federal District Daycare Centre, and they're hosting a tea party as their main fundraiser this year. And it's in the venue will be the Federal Ballroom, and the date is the 23rd of May at 2 o'clock. The doors will open at 12. And entry on the day is 20. Now, there'll be numerous tables there where people will host a table, and they'll have their own places. But if somebody that's only a couple want to come for the day, or a group of 4 want to come along and fit in, and there'll be prizes for the best dressed table. Any guest is welcome to join the community table, which will be there as well. So it's afternoon of fun, laughter and friendship, and booking is essential. And as I said, it's on the 23rd of May, and the venue is the Federal Ballroom.
And how do you book?
You can book through a telephone number, contacting the daycare centre, or contacting Siobhan at 087 632 6873, or Fionnuala at 086 380 9379. Posters are going out this weekend, and road signs as well.
All right, we'll have those numbers here with Leanne if you missed that. Michael, thanks for coming into us today. Thanks, you. Cllr Michael Brennan with us there. We'll take a break, back with more.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Now, over the past few days, we've been taking a deep dive into that whole ancestral tracing and genealogy, and mainly sparked off by the publication of the census of 1926. And over the course of some of those conversations, I was making the point that I had absolutely no interest whatsoever in genealogy until broadcaster Jonathan Ryan, or JR as we know him, who happens to be a cousin of mine as well, sort of dragged me into it. And he's with me in studio. JR, good morning to you.
Good morning, Fran, and good morning to your listeners. How are you?
I'm very well indeed. It's lovely to have you back on Tip FM. I'm sure the voice will bring back a lot of memories to people as well. But the whole business of genealogy, were you always into that?
Not really, no. I suppose a lot of people would be familiar with watching programmes like, for example, Who Do You Think You Are on the BBC. That's a great programme. Looking back at people's history, and I mean, it's amazing how far back people can go. And I suppose I have two grandchildren now, little Rosie and little Charlie, and they're quite small, but I got thinking a couple of years ago, you know, it would be nice to look at the family history and see where, because I remember my grandparents, but I don't obviously remember my great-grandparents because they'd passed on.
Yeah.
And we may as well share with people, I suppose, at this stage that you and I both share the same great-grandparents.
Yeah.
And there was a bit of a divide in the family, as in our great-grandfather, his wife Ellie, died and is buried somewhere in Cashel. That's another mystery that we can't find. He remarried in Clonmel after a few years in the late 1930s, and my grandmother came here, whereas your grandmother would have stayed in Cashel with the rest of the family. Now, without going into too much family history. Yeah. But I always wanted to follow up on a bit of that, and in fairness to my sister Claire, she had done about 17 or 18 years of research, looking back through records and whatever, and the Heritage Centre in Cashel were extremely helpful to her in rooting out that side of the family. And then on my grandfather's side of the family, we always thought he came from Kilkenny, for example, which he did. But by going through the records, I was able to find out that he was born in Naas in County Kildare. So he was actually a Kildare man. Wow. But he was reared in Callan, in Kilkenny. And that's where the Kilkenny roots came from. So I suppose with that in mind, I decided to start looking back through the census, and I took up the mantle. My sister had kind of come to a dead end. She'd gone as far as she possibly could. So I said, I'm going to have a little look at this, see what we can find. And suddenly little things became obvious to me, and I was able to look at dates and count backwards. And it opened up new avenues, and I was able to trace, for example, our shared 4 times great-grandfather back to 1798, a man called Thomas Roach. And he was born around Kilconnell or Kilsalla. I can't remember which of the two now, between Feathered and Cashel. And a lot of our family would have originally have come from the Mokelers Hill area. That's where our great-grandparents would have met and then married and eventually moved into Cashel. But little things like that come up. Now, there's a lot of stuff missing. Obviously, the new census that's come out, the 1926 census, fills the gap between the 1911 census and 1926.
But there's still a gap, isn't there?
There's a big gap. And
right.
It's you had the Civil War, a lot of paperwork was burnt.
Yeah, the four courts,
GPO.
of course.
A lot of stuff was destroyed. And it became very hard to find a lot of stuff for that. So looking at the plus the other thing, of course, you had World War I going on between 1914 and 1918. You had the Easter Rising. You had the War of Independence. Sure. A lot of stuff happened there. And it's nice to look at the 1926 census now and see that our relations still lived in Cashel. And when you're walking around, you're actually walking in the footsteps of your great-grandparents and your great-great-grand, and so on and so forth.
Sometimes without realising
exactly.
it. I mean, you pointed out to me there's a laneway across from Feehan's Pub in Cashel into the car park. And that's where my great-grandmother lived. Yes,
and actually where they lived as well, your great-great-grandparents would have lived in that lane. That was called Greenhouse Lane, I think so. If memory serves me right. But the lane down from that, and you and I would have been in there at some stage in our lives and in previous careers, in Grant's Castle, where you had the nightclubs. And I would have been in there in the 80s helping a good mate of mine, Johnny Williamson, who was a DJ at the time, taking equipment out of there, not knowing that my great-grandmother had died in that laneway, in a house just up that laneway, you know.
Isn't it incredible?
50 years beforehand or 40 years beforehand. And we walked past and we just...
Without knowing.
We didn't know, yeah.
Did you go down a complete rabbit hole with this? Did this sort of start to consume you in some way?
When you start doing it, you become consumed by it. You can't help it. It's a rabbit hole and you literally find stuff. The amount of paperwork I have at home, and I've only kept half it because as you go through stuff, you throw stuff away. And my advice to anybody who's going to do something like this, while your grandparents are still alive, while your parents are still alive, get as much information out of them as possible. Talk to them.
Yeah.
Ask them questions. Write it down. Have notes. Dates if they have it. Where they worked, where they lived. As much previous family names. Even if it doesn't make any sense to you, write it down. Because when you're going back, they'll suddenly start coming
because
forward.
This emerged on the programme yesterday when I was talking to Dr. Conor Reedy about Ferry House. I mean, I had two granduncles who were in Ferry House, Willie and Paddy.
Right.
I thought there might be something in the 26 census about them being there, but there wasn't. So obviously the years were incorrect. But again, I wish I spoke to them.
Well, I can tell you something now straight off the bat, and you don't know this, but Patrick and William, Patrick was 18 and William was 16. They were both single, and they were both living with their parents and their sisters and brothers at Quirks Lane in Cashel in the 1926 census, and there it is.
Isn't that incredible? Isn't that incredible? Now, I had no idea you were going to give me
I like
this.
surprises.
Isn't that incredible? So would they have been your...
They would have been my great-uncles as well. Yeah.
Granduncles.
We'd share granduncles, yeah.
Isn't it absolutely incredible? And but the point I was going to make is, why didn't I talk to them? Why
well, that's it. Yes, we're guilty of it.
Now, my Aunt Rosarie was telling me yesterday, they didn't really want to talk about Ferry House.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah. There was a stigma attached to it and a bit of shame attached to it, I suppose, for no reason at all.
Not at all, because they were there because of, what happened. Their mother died.
There's a programme, this is probably a bit of a plug for RT, but the programme on, I think it's this coming Sunday night, looking at one of the industrial schools, and I just see on the promo where they were saying that there was a 4-year-old child just taken off his family, or his family put him into a poorhouse at 4 years of age, for no reason at all. It's possible the family were quite poor. I mean, we are very lucky in the sense that our great-great-great-grandparents survived the famine. Had they not survived the famine, we wouldn't be here having this chat today. Our kids wouldn't be here. Our grandkids. When you think about it like that,
isn't it amazing?
We are so lucky to be here. And that connection with the past, I think, is quite important to remember.
Isn't it just indeed? Some of the stuff then, the coincidence, for instance, my great, and again, it was you who told me about this, my great-great-grandmother was Ellie, wasn't she?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And my little granddaughter is Ellie, even though we never knew.
That's right. And she was born Ellen, but she became known as Ellie. And when I told you that, I could see the look on your face when you said that. And actually, the hair stood in my head. I was like, wow, the name is coming back again. And I can add to that as well, because I did mention my two grandchildren, Rosie and Charlie.
Yeah.
And when my daughter said, well, I'm going to call him Charlie, and I was like, okay, that's Charles. Our great-great-grandfather, Ellie's father, was Charles Roach. So the Charles is coming back into our family in a roundabout way again. Now, of course, that's going to happen with names anyway, but I just thought it's a strange coincidence. And it's nice to be able to remember them like that as well.
Isn't it? What else did you... I mean, beside the detail, I mean, has it changed you in terms of how you look at families and family history and all
I think it has a little bit, but I think it's very important to just remember, that when you're looking back on this stuff, people... Because it was British rule up to 1922, a lot of the census information may not be exactly right. So if you're looking for somebody, say, who was married in 1900, on the marriage certificates, and there's a few really good websites that you can go to. Roots.ie is probably one of the best ones. It's a paid site, and I'm not advertising for them, but it's a paid site. Yeah. But you can take out a month's subscription. But when you're looking at stuff, the ages mightn't be right. They mightn't add up. But sometimes people didn't know their age. If you go back into the 1800s, they were just guessing that I might be 25 or I might be 26 or whatever. And I did notice in our own family, there's one census where someone is, 26. and the next census they're 40, and you're like,
I think the old pension application might have something.
Yeah, and I think there might have been something to do with our great grandparents as well, where there's a bit of a gap of 10 years between herself and himself. She's 10 years older.
Right.
But she's not 10 years older until the next census. She was only 5 years older when they got married. So there might have been a reason behind that as well. So people tended to... And the other thing, of course, because of British rule, Irish people didn't want to give the British government too much information.
Sure.
Even today, people are saying, I don't want to fill this out. I don't want to fill that out.
Yeah.
But back then... But I think, in 100 years' time, when people are looking back at the 2024 census, 2024 I think was the last one, was it? They look back with so much information.
Yes.
Like there's so much information on that form when you're filling it out now, and it'll build such a picture for families in the future that are going to be looking back.
Will you continue to delve in, or is there any more for you to do?
There's still a few little bits and pieces that I want to kind of follow up on. Not a huge amount now. I've gone kind of back as far as I can go. You can kind of really only go back into the early 1800s, because once you go back there, the records become very scarce. If you're looking at marriage records, it only mentions the father. There's no idea of the mother. So if you're looking for John Ryan, for example, from 1820, who was married to, or who had a child, the mother's name isn't on it. So if you try to find out where John Ryan was married to somebody, there's no records really, and then there could be 100 John Ryans, but where's the mother's name? It's not put on those records.
Well.
And in England, they have a much better system. The records were preserved so well, whereas here in Ireland, if you go back around 1820 or even before, the records, there's only 2 or 3 places where the records are kept, and they tend to be Church of Ireland records rather than...
Right.
Yeah.
But if people get anything from this today, would you agree with Conor Reedy then yesterday? Talk to the older people.
Talk to people is the most important thing. Go to the website.
Record it even.
Record it if you can. That's even better. But the other thing, and I know you're going to cut to a break shortly.
The old broadcaster comes out
never
of you all
leaves
the time.
The other thing I would say to people is start now.
Yeah.
Get all the paperwork done now, have everything written down, and when the winter comes, when autumn is coming in the dark evenings, that's the time to sit down, because once you sit down at a computer, you start typing in stuff into these websites. Yes. Oh boy, you will go down. 3 hours will go in the blink of an eye.
And as I say, I had absolutely no interest in this until you and I spoke. We had a coffee about it.
One little thing I'll tell you before you go to your break. You've been in this studio how long now? 20 odd years?
Oh God, yeah, 25 years.
Where we're sitting
break.
Where we're sitting right this minute, you're about 500 metres away from where our shared great-grandfather is laid to rest, just across the road.
Are you serious?
Yep.
I didn't realise that.
There you go.
And I pass it all
every day.
The time.
You look out the window every day, and his grave is just over there.
And
which proves...
Is it marked? Is it?
Oh, it's marked, yeah.
Is it
his
indeed?
Full gravestone is there, yeah. And I'll take you there one of these days. We'll go visit him. But it just shows, like I said earlier, we're walking past our family history every day, and we don't know it.
It's fascinating. Stay with me, because I want to talk to you about something else that's historical as well. We'll take a break. Back in just a moment.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tip today on 1800 938 007.
Now, welcome back. And JR is still with me, because broadcasting history in Tipperary is to be commemorated with a new plaque honouring a former Clonmel radio station, the great CBC, of which you were a member. Were you a founding member of that?
No. There was a different John Ryan who was a founding member who passed a number of years ago. He was one of the directors of the company. CBC was set up. It was a culmination of Radio Carrick. Jerry Gannon, you've had on the studio on a couple of occasions. In 1981, Jerry was working in a radio station in Waterford, and then he wanted to set up one in his hometown of Carrick-on-Suir, where he'd moved to. So he set up Radio Carrick, which was running for almost a year, I think. And here in Clonmel, we had a radio station called Cllr. That was Johnny Williamson's, run from Johnny Williamson's kitchen, as he would tell himself. If he had a disco that night, the equipment all had to go with him, because he was off gigging. And that was the end of the radio station. But Jerry had the foresight to see that, Clonmel was prime retail land for a radio station, for South Tipperary as such. So he got together with a few business people. They had a meeting in Hearns Hotel, and they trashed out a deal where the two stations would come together. And both the O'Reilly brothers, of course, were the custodians of the West Gate. And, of course, the West Gate's a completely other history story. I mean, they wanted to knock that in the mid-1960s.
I only read that relatively recently.
Yeah, I think I posted that on Facebook or whatever. Yeah, they wanted to knock the West Gate. So they decided, look, the West Gate's the ideal place. Now, looking back in hindsight is a fantastic thing. Now I'm thinking from a fire safety point of view, there is no way you couldn't get a wheelchair. Well, we did get a wheelchair because Logan McCool were actually brought up. One of those was in a wheelchair. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, that was narrow stairs.
Oh, yeah. It's a narrow stairs. I don't know how they got the equipment up there. It was at one stage, I'm going off on a tangent now, but at one stage there was a pool hall up there. How did they get a pool table up there? But the BBC decks that we had in CBC, they came from BBC Scotland, and they were huge. Like, they were probably 1.5 meters tall. They were, they were about 1 metre tall, 1.5 meters to 2 meters long, and they were about another metre in depth. And the weight of them, you'd need a crane, but somehow men got them up and down those stairs. I do not know how. But anyway, they were set up in CBC was set up and opened in November 14th, 1981. Closed, of course, at the whim of the government when they decided everything had to be made legal. Yeah. And it was no harm, I suppose, in one sense, because it was a Wild West. Now, the thing about CBC was I joined in 1983. A lovely man called Billy McClellan who passed away just last year. Billy had a quiz show on a Sunday afternoon. I entered the quiz, won an album. I was at home. He arrived, blah, blah, blah. I was on the CB Radio at the time because they were huge. He said to me, are you interested in this? I said, oh God, yeah, I like this kind of stuff. He said, we have a job if you'd be interested. So I go in the next day, meet a guy called Tony Brooke of this parish. Tony was covering for Jerry, because Jerry was gone to Australia on his first sojourn, and got the job. Knew nothing about radio, knew nothing about mixing desks. A guy called Pat O'Regan showed me everything there was. My job was make coffee, sort out the library, do anything else around the place, and run the desk for Peg Power in the morning and Patricia Cantwell in the afternoon. So that was my job. And then as time went on, that progressed. I started doing my own show. Then I was looking after Jerry Gannon's show in the morning. So I was sitting in studio from 9 in the morning till 12 o'clock and back in at 2. And then in those days, you had other jobs to do as well. So after about 2.5 years, I became the advertising manager. So at this stage now, I'm doing the breakfast show in the morning. I'm engineering Peg's programme until 11 o'clock. Then I'm going off and I'm the advertising manager for the rest of the day. But I'm also sitting in and recording stuff for people in the commercial production studio downstairs. But it was a wonderful time. And I think I must, at this stage, I came up with the idea of this a few years ago. And I want to thank councillors Richie Malloy and Pat English and honorary mention for Councillor Nye Dennehy as well, who replied to my email, for getting this off the ground. Because I think it's important as we walk, as we were talking in the last segment, like we're walking in the footsteps of the shadows of our
sure.
ancestors. People walk under the West Gate every day and they look up at it sometimes and they don't know what was ever in there. It would be nice to have a plaque there that someone who might look up and go, oh, good
I think
God.
It would be fantastic.
I think in 100 years' time,
because
someone might say, what was a radio station?
So many of you emerged from that academy of radio into commercial radio.
Quite a lot, yes. Patricia Messenger, for example, is now down in 103 in Cork, and she's been there for 30
the great
years.
Dennis O'Sullivan there as
the
well.
Great Dennis O'Sullivan, Tony Brooke, Tim Cooney, Sadly, a lot of the guys aren't with us anymore. Like, they were a little bit older than me in those days, and they've all passed on to greater things. Owen Ryan, of course, who was a producer with Nationwide. He started his lifetime in CBC. And so many. But I was looking back, and when I knew I was doing this, I had a quick look back. There was somewhere in the regions of between 100 and 120 volunteers going in and out of that station.
Was there?
Over the course of the 7 years that it was open, which was huge, and the support from the businesses in Clonmel was fantastic. Now, the politicians were good too. They saw the potential for local radio.
Of course they did.
The papers didn't like them being on. The government in Dublin didn't like them being on. But the likes of Noel Tavern, for example, would come in. And in fact, I came across an interview the other day that Jerry Gannon did. Noel had an accident, I think it was in Switzerland or someplace. He was skiing in the 80s.
Oh, I remember that well.
And Jerry did an interview from his hospital bed with TD Noel Davern at the time, God rest him. But they weren't afraid to come on. They would come on and talk, and they discussed, there was... Like your own programme, people would come in and discuss the issues of the day, and sometimes they got quite heated. But it was well respected. And over time, because of the iconic location of the West Gate, like every time you went down to the door, there was a pile of mail. People were writing
Requests.
It was a new thing. Up to 1979, you only had RT Radio 1.
Yeah, of
or
course.
RTE, as it was just simply called, because it was just the radio. And you didn't hear pop music. If you wanted to hear pop music, you probably remember yourself having to listen to Radio Luxembourg.
Yeah, of course.
Under
the covers. I remember it well.
But then 2FM came along in May of 1979, and that opened up a new world to us. But suddenly to have a radio station that's in Clonmel.
Local voices.
Yeah. And even if you didn't know the voices, you'd hear requests from Mary down the road or whatever. And it just brought that. I remember I was working on a farm, 3 months before I joined CBC. And I have my little radio on, and I'm heading off to feed sheep or something that morning. And a Sunday morning, and I'm listening to who turned out to be a good friend of mine, and again of this parish. He was CEO here for a number of years, Paul Byrne.
Sure.
And Paul is doing a chart show on a Sunday morning, playing all the best of the hits for 2 hours. And I'm like, enjoying this. This is really good. Not knowing that in 3 months' time, I'm going to be sitting in the same studio as this guy. I mean, life has a strange way of
hasn't it just
coming around.
And I presume people phoned in as well. Was there a
people
phone?
Could phone in, yeah. There was a phone in the studio. People could phone in. They were constantly buzzing the door. We had 2 lights in the studio, a yellow and a red. If the red went off, it was the phone. If the yellow, it was the door. But
it's incredible.
You'd walk downtown.
No, I beg your pardon.
Sorry. You'd walk downtown, and people would actually be handing you.
Yes.
Like they'd meet you, they go, John, will you play a request on Sunday? So you had to carry a notebook with you.
Yeah.
Because will you give this to whoever's on Sunday morning? Give this to Timmy for tonight for me.
But unlike me and unlike a lot of broadcasters around here, you saved so much stuff. You kept recordings, didn't you?
I did. I happened to... I could see the light at the end of the tunnel coming. And it was a train, so we were going to stop. And I started recording stuff, particularly in 88, but people started giving me stuff as well. So I've become a bit of a
curator.
That's the word I was looking for, friend. Thank you very much. That's why you're doing this job.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
A lot of stuff. I have the mixing desk, the original mixing desk from the studio. I have the original telephones. I have a book of advertising. The very first book we had. So it was a logbook of all the advertisers, how many ads they were taking, the dates they were taking them, right the way from 1981 up to about 1986. And that was saved by another good friend of mine, Jerry O'Donnell, who had done a bit of skip diving, because when they were emptying the West Gate, he went, I'll have that. And when we did the documentary a couple of years ago, after that, I got my hands on that. That was given to me, and I have a few other bits and pieces like that. And it's lovely to have. And the plan is put those things into the museum, because when I go, I'd like that to be kept someplace safe. Yeah. Because what happens with a lot of people when they pass on, their family go, they look at it and they go, what in the name
They don't
of
see
God?
the value.
That's junk, and it's gone, and it's never seen again. I want to kind of make sure the stuff that I have that's CBC related, including all the recordings. I have tons and tons of recordings at home that I've started to clean up, and I did it myself with Adobe Audition. But
which is software for our listeners.
Yes, and AI has come along now, and I put stuff into AI the other day, and I could not believe how clean it came back to me without me doing any work at all.
It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, and there is a documentary available, isn't there?
There is a Pirates in the West Gate. If you go to YouTube, just type in Pirates in the West Gate, and that'll bring you the documentary, and there's old recordings on that, and a history of CBC as well. And looking forward to hopefully in the next 2 years talking to you and saying, look, the plaque's going up next Friday. Or whatever. Fingers crossed.
I was just about to say that to you. Do we know when the plaque
No,
might
it's going
appear?
before the council, and thanks to Richie and Pat, it's now in the hands of the gods, and of course it'll probably take a couple of years, but I would hope that December 31st 2028 will be the 40th anniversary of the closure of CBC, so I would hope that somewhere around there it will be done.
Well, we were delighted to have you with us today, and lovely to hear your voice back on Tipp FM.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Pat.
After all the years, you know.
Thank you, Frank.
Great to see you, John. Thanks very much indeed for that. News and information's on the way.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24 111.
Thanks, Pat, and you're very welcome back to the second hour of Tipp Today. Great response to JR with me there, and lots of memories as well coming in about CBC Radio all those years ago. Now, delighted to be joined in the studio once again by Bernie Goldbach. Good morning to you, Bernie.
Good morning.
And it's good to see you today. So much to talk about, but the shooting incident at the White House Correspondents' Dinner on Saturday night. You and I spoke last year. We spoke last week even. We spoke off air. I asked you about how the Trump presidency might end. You spoke about his health failing, but you also predicted another attempt on his life.
Yeah, I think it's a fair estimate. I mean, like, you could go to Polymarket and make these predictions pay off if your listeners want to do that. There's odds on yet another attempt. So you make a bet. I won't go into it.
Right, but
it's crazy.
But suffice to say, you were not surprised, I guess.
No. It's the vitriol on both sides. And like, you upset people, you stir the pot. From people I know, and I know a lot of people when I grew up, they were very proud, multi-generational Republicans. You know, low involvement of the government, you know, low taxes. I mean, I always remember, I must have been 8 or 9 years old, hearing my grandfather say, you only need the government to do 2 things, protect the country and move the mail. And that's all he cared about. And he was true to that. And he didn't let inspectors in his buildings. We had 3 warehouses. He paid his taxes because he thought that was a good thing to do. But like, in his mind, pure on conservative government out of your face. And, you know, that's years ago. And to some extent, a pure Republican still thinks that way. A conservative thinks that way. But what's happened is lots of other tribal sentiments have kind of amped up the rhetoric, and now it's going personal. And just recently, I'd say within the last 10 years, I never expected to be called anti-American by a college roommate of mine, and I never expected to potentially face the stares and glares of people where I went to the U.S. Airforce Academy. I may go back to a reunion in late September, and like 30%, no more than 30%, think in terms of left, right, up, down, think in terms of the spectrum. Most people think in terms of only red is good, MAGA forever, and it's just hard to process.
You've probably heard over your time here, I mean, when we speak about the Irish Civil War, we talk about brother against brother, and you and I were speaking downstairs earlier on, and literally that's what it's doing. It's dividing families even.
The cultural divide, it is, yes. I mean, I have first cousins, brothers, and friends who they don't take the polite way out, which is don't talk about politics, religion, or sex when you're together, because they can be inflammatory things. But now it's like with pride, we stir the pot, we see what happens, and we react in a really crazy way. Name calling, offensive language beyond name calling, and it's not healthy.
Tell me about the Hilton Hotel, where this dinner was being held, with up to, I think, about 2,000 people there. You're very familiar with the Hilton Hotel.
Yeah, it's upper
there
northwest side of Washington, Connecticut Avenue, I believe. The pool doesn't open until the 1st of May, if you're thinking about that. It's a 4-star hotel, similar to the rates charged by Irish 4-star hotels. It's Washington, D.C., so I think...
So it's not a super posh...
It's a very functional place. The ballroom can handle the numbers of people that would come for a big event. I remember, and then the staff is it's a proper hospitality staff. I remember, I think his name was Patrick, a bartender, actually squeezed the fruit in front of you. He could make a smoky or a plain bourbon, and he knew he was conversationalist, just like you'd see here. So all that high level interacting with you, the guest, happens in that hotel. It's not like a sterile ballroom with gold leaf everywhere. It's that part of it is the superstructure, and you can stay there as well. And when you do stay there, you have free roam of the facilities, as the Secret Service found out.
And speaking of that and the level of security there, most people are appalled at the level of security.
Well,
what was your take on that?
Well, see, I've walked down those same steps that shooter was trying to get down. That's the final choke point. But like, people are surprised by the fact you get into the venue through one of the many doors, or down the lift from your room. You're in the venue. Now you're only within probably 30 meters of
So are
the
you
bulk.
past an element of security at that point? Then,
There
if
is
you come
none.
down that? There is none.
That's just it. The assumption being made was because the threat of security was going to be there, people wouldn't want to be in the scrum of the hotel. But the hotel did not let them put up any kind of the metal detectors. You didn't have to. You only went through one metal detector, and that's into the ballroom. You didn't have to go through a metal detector in the lobby or at any of the entrances. So that would have created friction for the movement of people that are there for their Sunday dinner or for
But
their...
you had the president, the vice president,
The
other cabinet members.
One dirty bomb would have taken out the American government. Yeah, so it's a higher problem simply that you could get in easily. I mean, I watch a lot of spy films and see how people bring their weapons in through the service facilities on a service cart, dress up as a waiter and create problems. But I mean, the shooter actually traveled by train from California to Washington. There's no protections on the train. You don't have your luggage inspected on a train. So he had all his weapons, knives, and guns in his luggage, in his room. And then he carried a few down.
But
the lift.
would they not have checked the rooms and,
Look, friend, you decide. I mean, when I go to big education conferences in Europe, the venue itself is bought out by the organizer of the major event. So you'd have to go back to say, wait, why, since we know when that correspondence dinner happens, why doesn't the organizer buy all the rooms? So, they're controlling all of the rooms, and to get a room, you have to be a member of the National Union of Journalists, or you have to be a part of the traveling pool of supporters. No, they didn't do that. Now that's a structural organizational problem, and it could be very costly. But like I say, I go to big events. There are 4 or 5 star hotels around Germany and Spain and Portugal. They buy the organizer buys all the rooms, so they have control of the venue.
And we were making the point yesterday that, when President Biden came here, and other presidents as well, the Secret Service are here weeks ahead of time. They're welding manholes, they're checking out everybody, they're vetting everybody. And by comparison, that seems to have been so amateurish.
They used the playbook from years ago. That's what they did, I believe. They put security in place where the last 30 meters would be protected. And when the shots were fired, the security details immediately responded and led the dignitaries out. So that, it would have been hard to think the guy could have got off a shot based on how it actually transpired, how they got him to stop, and he did not even get within shooting range of the main venue. But if you'd done the process slightly differently and simply wanted to have an explosive device go off, it would have been easier. Not making plans for that to happen, but
it would have been devastating, needless to say.
Yeah, it would have decapitated the American government. Iran, you're listening? I mean, this is the kind of crazy stuff. So you could. I'm not saying Mar-a-Lago is easy to get into, but quite frankly, if you have a Trump gold card, you're in. With the bag that's not going to probably be inspected in your room, and just going to make sure the bag goes. I mean, these are things you can just deconstruct a spy film. You can figure out how to get close to the principal, the president of the United States.
The conspiracy theories are doing the rounds. Would you compare security for Donald Trump to other presidents for me? And is it more lax? Because it certainly appears to be. But
I wasn't part of it. All I did with security details is I transported the Secret Service, and I transported the vans and the Beast, the Airforce, the president's limousine occasionally. So you'd work with the protocol. You'd work with an operations plan which told you when to put certain assets in place. You'd fly the assets to the place. You'd have to have, I'd go back as a teenager, you had to have a vetting done by the Secret Service. And when I set up a college gymnasium for President Reagan, we had to wear certain clasps on our collars by color. And they told anybody looking at you, okay, you've been vetted, and you can go to a certain distance from the president and a certain angle to the president. So those things you're talking about, manhole covers being secured and all that, in a typical new sterile space, I think those protocols are in place. There's still problems, like in Butler, Pennsylvania. How did someone get on a roof, a line of sight? Well, that was down to local police making sure that perimeter was secured. So there is a plan. The plans are well vetted, labor intensive. I just think they fell to the hey, it's always been done this way, all is good way of thinking. And I mean, it's crazy when you consider it. On the day of the event, Carolyn Levitt, the press secretary, actually said shots will be fired.
Yes.
She actually said those words.
No, she was referring to Trump's rhetoric.
Yeah, but it's kind of crazy thinking how laid back do you think that everything revolves around the one guy and all will be fine, he will fire the shots, don't you all worry, just get in line and listen. So, I mean,
Yeah, but it's the third attempt on his life.
Yes.
So you'd imagine that security would be really...
Fran, there'll be people looking at how it happened, analyzing the threats, trying to figure out how to do it differently. The answer is get the ballroom now. Make the appropriation in Congress. Build it quickly. That's what they're trying to do.
What did you mean when you said private security is expanding in some way? And will you tell me about why that is relevant to this?
Well, because I think a lot of it's stoked up. People need to have themselves protected. So Sam Altman, Dario Amodeo, Elon Musk, when they travel, they have a contingent of people. You know, they look like rugby second rows, you know, glaring you out of the way. So because America is a bit of a rogue nation when it comes to people expressing themselves through the sight of a rifle, security details are around people with money and people with influence. And there are more of those security details than trained police in American cities today. They've expanded massively over the last 10 years because people have an opinion and they don't like your opinion. That in America, it's seen as almost patriotic to try to enforce their opinion, potentially with violence, on you. That's what's happened. So that's why if anybody visits Ireland and they have a lot of money with their private jet, chances are you'll spot men in black around them, or tapping their ears or talking into their wrists.
Listener asking, would you please ask Bernie why the attacker was not shot as he ran past the security person there? If anybody saw the video, it was incredible, in fact, how he got past before the security guy got his gun out.
Yeah, well, he was tackled, and one of the Secret Service agents possibly took friendly fire from one of his own.
Is that what happened to the other security?
I don't know. They
agent?
can't. They're being very. They're not being very definitive about the fragment that hit the bulletproof vest. Where it come from. Just physical barriers. They mean a lot. They weren't obviously in place because that's a wide space that if you put a physical barrier in place, you violate fire code. You have to reduce the number of people in the venue. I
think I know the answer to this, but are you grudgingly admiring Trump's resilience? I mean, within 2 hours, he was hosting a press conference back in the White House. He managed to manipulate what happened around it to saying this is why we deserve to have the ballroom built.
It's more than that. I mean, everybody, all the sycophants had, all the cabinet, everybody had the same message: build a ballroom. They had the talking point memo system that the American government has is quite remarkable. Everyone has the same main points to make. Ballroom, solve the problem. Ballroom, Hormuz closed. Ballroom. Trump Epstein's files, ballroom. Affordability, ballroom. They pivot the message, and then the largest broadcast network, Fox, parrots that. I mean, it's hard for people to understand. You go to a takeaway here, you might see a television screen with a bottom third with words. Would it be like Sky News or CNN? America, it's Fox News. I have friends coming to Ireland, and they're so upset on the television in their rooms they can't find Fox, and they're stuck with CNN or Sky or BBC. They don't understand that. But the amplification of the message is everywhere in social media as well as in the traditional broadcast screens that are at waiting in doctor surgeries, takeaways.
And are you saying to me, this is a single message then? This is Donald Trump's message largely on
amplification,
Fox,
both social and broadcast.
And speaking of broadcast platforms, then CBS and Norah O'Donnell, and that interview where Donald Trump, he really lost it with what she put to him.
Yeah, well, he considers 60 Minutes to be like vermin and disgusting, and he uses certain key terms. She read him part of the manifesto of the shooter. And that's part of this. That's part of the evidence of the charge. He's being charged with assaulting a federal officer and attempting to assassinate. And it's in the court documents. So she's reading it, saying, well, and the typical thing here in social media is like, okay, I'm looking for your reaction. You know, heard this happen. What's your reaction, Taoiseach? The word reaction. I think she used that word. You know, she read it. So what's your reaction? And he laid right into her and accused her.
And sorry, the wording she used was about pedophilia
and rapist.
And
you know, I'm not a
rapists
rapist.
and all
I'm
of
not
that,
a pedophile. You know, that's disgusting. You know,
Yeah.
like I knew you were going to do that. You know, you're fake news. And he latched into, used all the words that he typically uses to tell somebody. You know, and then she responded, "Well, wait a minute. Did you think he was talking about you?"
because she hadn't mentioned.
No, that's mentioned. Because that's pretty clever. How she did that.
It's interesting. You were also making the point to us that, I mean, we're always, particularly on this program and other programs like it, we're you know, we have a go at the government, and we sometimes think that we're not doing so well here and things are difficult and stuff. But you're making some very interesting points about Ireland and our schools and the fact we don't have gun drills here and shooter drills. And
yeah, I mean, what has normalized in America since I went to primary school is if you're in a primary school or secondary school in America, you can get a grant for a bulletproof door, concrete laid. You can't get a grant for art supplies, so you got to go fund me for that. In I went to a Catholic high school, and they have like typical thing. It starts with a prayer, Pledge of Allegiance, and then something about the next fire drill or the next type of shooter drill. So it's you have 3 different types of shooter drills I'm aware of. One is like the active shooter and how you leave the building. Another one is how you get under the desk, and then how you go to certain parts of the room, a storage closet, or something that's out of view. And then for young kids, there's a big discipline movement to say, look, please be quiet under the tables, make no noise. And then somebody's designated in the homerooms. That's the first room you're in of the day. Who can activate it's a Bluetooth activated locking system for all the doors in the hallway. So some kids normally told, you're responsible in this room this week for the crash button. They hit it, and all the doors slam shut and lock. Concrete lined, bulletproof glass doors. And that's normal.
It's incredible, but I mean, is this traumatizing young people then? In some
I think
way,
it's
normalizing.
It's normalizing the fact that in America we have guns. Guns solve a lot of problems. Guns are important to American culture. Be safe. It's normalizing the fact that, okay, if you're a bit psychotic or you have mental health issues, sure you may have a gun, but hey, it's America.
What did you mean when you said to me that we put cyanide in the water of social media?
We like drinking water, and many people become very addicted to. In fact, the news you get about this broadcast will maybe on the social media feeds that Tipp FM has. So people won't be listening live, but they'll maybe rewind and maybe see a small paragraph and make some comments. That's become the way that people get and digest information. Not from the voice of the person saying it. It's what Thomas just said about the grant, but then it comes into social media and it's what people write in the reply section that becomes the message, even though it's not what the person said. So that's like poisoning the message, you know, and in a sense also contaminating the purveyor of truth, because it's not what the person said or did, it's what the flow of the water of social media, which I think is poisoned by people that have, you know, very strident concerns. And that's what the algorithm responds to. You know, how loud people get, how stupid their comments are, how insulting they are to each other. That gets more likes or more traction. The algorithm looks for this kind of emotional outburst and then pushes it higher for other people to see. That's what I mean. It's poisonous. And like, nobody wants to make a law against that. Currently in the AI circles, they're saying, look, if you're detecting based on people's prompts, they're looking about how to assemble a weapon that can get through a metal detector. Do you have a responsibility to flag that? So we've been through this with Facebook and with Meta, with Instagram. They're saying, well, that's not actually our problem. Okay, that's a problem of like the person running that group, or it's a problem with law enforcement getting involved. They think there's a threat, but not our problem. At source,
we're not publishing. We're right. Just a platform,
right?
Yeah.
And that's starting to be challenged under class action lawsuits. Can they get away with that? Because currently they can detect sentiment and emotion. They elevate the people who are outraged. They elevate the threats to the top of people's news feeds. That's poisonous. And there's, under the veil of free speech, the providers are saying that's our job, is to allow the most diverse opinions. I mean, if you read about the upcoming new blockade/protests, it isn't like about affordability. That's part of it. It's always everything else. It's everything else, like pepper spray is part of the reason why we're protesting. We're protesting because, we don't like Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil government has to be brought down now. It's like all over the place. It starts out with people saying, yeah, life is more expensive now. Can we do something? I'm thinking about how can I cut costs on the electricity I'm paying for? It's jumped more than 10% this quarter for me. So what can I cut back? That's not part of the conversation. It's like the government's responsible for that. So throw out the government, bring in a government that'll give us more handouts so we can combat costs that way.
And are politicians playing into this then?
I'm not going to tell a politician how to think or do, but I think you got to read the room, listen to the people that have an opinion, and then say, well, what do you need? Well, I need more money. And say, well, how do you think we should do that? And lay out, this is what we're looking at, reducing the USC, getting rid of it. We're talking about cutting taxes. Oh, I'm not paying tax because I'm out of a job, so I need money in my pocket. Okay, so how about we help you get a job? I need money in my pocket, but how about we get? It's a two-way street. Only when you bring people to the fore and say, let's work this together. What can we do to make life better for all of us? And then it disintegrates to saying, well, there's people that don't have an Irish surname, they shouldn't be here anyway. Then close those iPass centers. It devolves.
And with respect to you as an American, should we look to what's happening in America and say, look, we can't have this happen?
It's contagious.
Here.
It's contagious, Fran. It's contagious. Yeah. Yes, it's going to come. It's already in social feeds. The tribal nature of Ireland is actually better set for this to happen. County versus county, Fine Gael. The blue shirts. It goes back to the Civil War, more recent than the American Civil War. It's a natural mental condition of people to want to fight. I think, it's not just express my opinion. I'm going to, torch yours.
It's interesting. We're almost out of time, but what's happening in Iran at the moment then with the Straits of Hormuz in particular, and Donald Trump saying that, be prepared for this to be more long term than maybe we thought originally in terms of the blockade. What are you making of that?
I think they're going to be back to the situation that Obama negotiated. That's what's going to happen. But you can ask Vladimir Putin. He sailed his yacht down through the strait. Yeah, so
that was incredible.
It can be done. No, they'll be back to a situation. We need diplomats that have the patience of trying to figure out what do you bring into the table. I was part of the intermediate nuclear weapons withdrawal from Europe. Months, years to get that to happen. And you had to bring together all these people saying, okay, how are we going to disassemble them? How are we going to store them if they're not disassembled? How are we going to remove the manufacturing process? Months to do that. Trump wants it done on the back of 1-2 Truth social post. That's not how it happens. The Revolutionary Guards have different ideas of what is successful in different parts of the country. 93 million people. Most of those are under the thumb of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards.
With all of we've discussed and with all of that going on, and it's a question I asked you downstairs, where are the Democrats, for God's sake?
Well, they got to learn the Trump method to some extent. Like if someone asks a question that's obviously stupid, to say, wait, I'm here to flip it back to you and say, affordability is the issue. That the issue that was made the part and parcel of the last election. We need to attack that. We need to attack medical care and health insurance. We need to attack, and just deal with those.
But they're not doing that.
No, it's hard because what happens is I think they're being too polite and trying to answer the question given. Several, like Pete Buttigieg, can do that. He can listen to the question, respect the questioner, and say, no, wait a minute. You and I know, and he'll explain what he knows, the other person knows, and what the listeners know. He says, this is more important. We need to get our heads around that, not the ballroom, not presidential executive power. It's like, what are we doing to get gasoline prices down? What are we doing to help people through an affordability crisis? What are we doing for their health insurance? And then steer the conversation back. Deal with the real issue.
But you need somebody with a voice and charisma and all of that to do that. And that
it's hard.
That's not emerging.
It's hard to do.
Yeah.
You know?
All right. Bernie, pleasure,
Yep.
as always. Thank you so much for coming
Sure,
in to us. We'll take a break, back with more.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, puck on. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Now, recently in Las Vegas, the first images of the late film star Val Kilmer, portrayed as one of the new AI-generated actors returning to the big screen through artificial intelligence, were revealed. He appears as a priest in the trailer for the upcoming film As Deep as the Grave. However, the trailer has left many film critics feeling rather uneasy, raising questions about the ethics of using AI actors in mainstream cinema. Now, meanwhile, images of AI characters entering the real estate and therapy sectors have sparked concerns among many, leading to fears that a cyber apocalypse may be closer than we imagined. Now, Matt O'Reilly is a cryptographic systems design specialist and a regular contributor to us, and he joins me now. Good morning to you, Matt.
Good morning, Fred. How are you getting on this morning?
I'm very well, and good to talk to you today. I was reading through some of your notes, and they're extremely interesting. You make the point that AI is the natural evolution of being human, Matt.
It really is. It really is. Humanity has what we think of as a unique perspective in that we are capable of levels of abstraction of thinking and imagination that, we know that animals can imagine. For instance, we see our cats, dogs, we know that dolphins and a lot of other mammals have dreams, which is it is sort of the brain actually recreating components of reality in itself and making things up so that it can learn how to deal with situations. And what we're actually doing with AI is teaching computers how to imagine. We're actually teaching, and this has been going on forever. We create images, even if we're doing it by hand on in Photoshop or something along those lines. We are teaching the computer how to display or how to recreate things that we see in the physical world, in a world that it cannot be touched, but it can be seen. And as we've gone through, there have become advances in computing that have gone from, remember back in Star Wars, for instance, when the first Star Wars came out, the computer graphics were line drawn and clunky and very primitive from what we consider now. But over time, they've gotten to the point now where, to some degree, we can't tell the difference whether something is a photograph or if it was something that was generated by a computer. Now we are getting with AI to the point where the computer can sort of direct some of that imagination itself in terms of how an image is generated or how a film is generated. And in doing so, we are putting more of that on the tool. Even though the tool doesn't have the autonomy to do it, we're still teaching it, in a manner of speaking, how to imagine.
How limited is that teaching, though? Because you make the points that AI can't create art, but we do see it creating music. We see it creating artistic images, for example, as well. So what do you mean, Matt, when you say it can't create art?
Well, art is, by its very nature, almost entirely subjective. Because you could look at a photograph or a painting or hear a piece of music and recognize it as an artwork. Whereas I might look at that same thing or hear that same thing and think, well, that's just noise, or that is just the never-ending debate about Jackson Pollock and other abstract artists, where some people look at that and say, yes, that's absolutely art, and other people say, well, that can't be art. That's just a bunch of paint splashed on a canvas, right? And therein lies the distinction, because art, by definition, has to have some sort of intention in it to create something and represent something. And AI simply does not have that autonomy, and we're taking as given right now that AI is not a living sentient thing, right? That it doesn't have its own autonomy, but by lacking that autonomy, it doesn't have the ability to have the intent to create something that we could perceive as art. Now, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you make a lovely analogy when you say we don't give credit to a pencil for a drawing or a camera for a photograph or the sky indeed for sunset.
Right, exactly. Because the tool is the medium, or the way to get the medium to behave in the way in that we can perceive as art, but it is not actually creating the art of it. And that requires a brain, that requires human interaction and intent in order to make it into something and to say, yes, this is art, or no, this isn't.
But is it possible that further evolution of AI will create a situation where it will be autonomous in itself and will be able to create from its own, I don't know, artificial consciousness or something?
Yeah, and it's an exceptional question, and you sort of get to the heart of the matter. I think that the line will become blurred to a degree where we can no longer tell the difference. And insofar as, philosophers have been asking, are we just, bundles of chemicals and biological matter, or do we actually have some sort of divinity within us that is that spark that animates, that gives us life? And will AI ever evolve or become, cross that threshold to get to that point itself? I think in order for us to say that yes, AI or some successor of it is able to create art, it will also have to be in that same breath imbued with an acknowledgement that it is life.
It's fascinating, isn't it? You said it's powerful.
It really is.
It's potentially dangerous. We must learn to put safety rails around it. I would put forward the theory there that the genie is out of the bottle on this. I'm not sure if we can put safety rails around it at this point, Matt.
I understand why you would say that, and I agree with you to a point. There is a lot of damage that is already happening. We're hearing news cycles about suicides that are AI prompted, where a teenager is interacting with the AI and doesn't realize that it's not actually a sentient thing, and is getting reinforcement about their own negative beliefs to the point where they actually go and commit suicide, which is a horrific, horrific thing. There is damage that is happening. But if you think about it, think about at the beginning of mechanical agriculture, we had threshers, and the threshers could take your arm off, or you could, be sucked up and crushed inside it. And that happened to people. And so what we're seeing is a digital version of that sort of thing. So yes, in a lot of ways it is out of the bottle. We can't bring back, we can't recover the people or from the damage that's been done. The only thing we can do is look forward and say, how do we put the equivalent of, side plates and shutdown mechanisms and things like that are analogous to what we have in the physical world into the digital?
And do you think there's an appetite out there for that to happen?
I think it is. I think that if not, it will cause, and I don't say the word lightly, but I think we could actually see something akin to an apocalypse. I think that we could see the Luddites would actually go to war to try to destroy everything that was AI if we don't. It is, and rightly so. I think that we owe it to ourselves, to our progeny, to each other, to do what we can to make the tool more safe to use.
Do you think, and I'm thinking particularly of people my own age, Matt, who mightn't be across this or might have a very kind of a naive or a vague idea as to what AI is, do we need to educate ourselves on this? Because I really believe people of my age, we don't really have a clue about this.
Yeah, I'm not too far from your age there myself, and I'm finding myself struggling a little bit with it in the same way that my father first struggled with mobile phones, and the way that my grandparents might have struggled with computing as a general concept. There is, it is certainly the domain of younger people at this point in a lot of ways, because they haven't grown up without it, and so they don't. It's sort of a natural part of the fabric for them. I think that it is, like you say, the genie's out of the bottle. It is inevitable. This is going to continue to be used. I don't think that there is a version of our future that does not involve a catastrophic dismantling of society that is not going to involve AI. And so I think it's incumbent upon us to either accept that we are going to become part of the past and no longer relevant, or that we are actually going to learn how to navigate this and learn how to use it to our advantage.
What did you mean, Matt, when you said the worst part of AI is the amount of energy waste?
Yeah, unfortunately, we have created something that is absolutely tremendous, but it comes at a significant cost. The amount of power that it takes, the actual raw computing power for the computers to do the calculations that are required to generate responses, even in something like ChatGPT or Claude, is one query generates enough waste heat that you could fry an egg on the server for each query that happens. And there are billions of queries that happen every year, every day. And so we can, some of the projections looking forward to 2027, saying that the data centers that power just the largest of the AIs, not considering all the private ones and all the government ones that we don't know about, will use 3 times the entire power consumption of Ireland in a single year.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
And it is that, because it's inherently inefficient. We are still learning how to do this. And so until, and we are going through the process iteratively of learning how to do it more efficiently, and eventually it will get better. But even so, the amount of power that's required, they're talking about building new nuclear power plants just to power the data centers that run AI that we already have in plan, and who knows what's going to happen beyond that. But we're doing it so quickly and without a lot of the guide rails. Again, going back to that safety issue, where we are, we're seeing water-cooled systems that are raising the temperature of groundwater in the surrounding areas and actually affecting the climate because of that, just because we're asking so much of it. And to me, it is somewhat irresponsible for companies, for governments, to rush into doing this without considering the impact that this is going to have on the environment, on culture, and on our society as we go forward.
One of our listeners wants to know, what do you think about the theory of transhumanism? Are you what is transhumanism?
I think that's a little bit deeper than we're going to be able to get into.
Is it? Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it related in some way to AI?
It is,
okay.
And
it's a whole other discussion, is what you're saying.
It really is, yeah. That's I need more coffee before that, I think.
I was asked to ask you as well, that woman who has gone viral after revealing that she allows her AI boyfriend to take full charge of her relationship, including their intimate life, and this is blown up on the internet. She has a committed relationship with an AI chatbot called Cllr. Is this just the kind of madness that might emerge from this as well?
There's a phrase that human beings will pack bond with anything. We have an inherent desire to connect with the things around us, and so it is. My dog passed away in 2022. I still miss her. I still love her dearly. I had a relationship with her, even though she wasn't a human being. Granted, it was not a romantic relationship, but it was a very, very powerful, very loving one, and one that I felt was reciprocated for the entire 12 years that she and I were together. And so I do think that I don't know that it's necessarily madness. It is just an extension of, if it, a child can fall in love with a stuffed animal and get a positive association with being around that stuffed animal. And I like some of my power tools. So I would say that it is not it is not necessarily madness. We sort of look on it perhaps a bit awkwardly, but it is an artifact, I think, that is natural from the way we interact with the things that interact back to us around us. And I think that at some point it will become fairly common for someone to have an AI best friend. I don't know. I would have to think a lot harder on it about where I stand on the idea of having a relationship, romantic relationship with AI. But it is an intriguing question.
Fascinating conversation, Matt. As always, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time, Matt. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Fran. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Good about you. That's Matt O'Reilly there, who is a cryptographic systems design specialist, and as always generating wonderful conversations on the programme as well. 1800 938 007. What do you figure about all of that? The question on transhumanism, and the listener who posed the question came back to say, sorry, Fran, I thought it might be too deep a question for this morning. My apologies. No need to apologise whatsoever. We're always delighted to receive your queries and your questions. We'll take a break. Back in a moment.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tipp today on 1-800-938 007. Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puckon, now is the time to pick up your next van. From the award-winning Peugeot Partner van to the expert and the load-lugging Boxer van. We have big vans, high-roof vans, long-wheelbase vans. You'll find them all at Slattery's Garage Puckon. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Join the conversation in Tipperary. Contact us through Facebook, Twitter, or email tiptoday@tippfm.com.
Leanne is with me. Morning to you, Leanne.
Good morning, Fran.
Big response to so much of our stuff this morning as well. It's
Huge
great,
response to the ancestors as well.
Yeah.
We want to know, though, we're putting it out there. We want all the little quirky ancestor stories. We've had so many in about people who are related to the king and they have connections to Trump. We want to know if you have tracked back any of your ancestors and what you found out. Because I did a bit on my nanny. She's a Brown of Knock in North Tipp.
Okay.
And we were able to track back that Brown comes from De Bruyne, which was an anglicisation of Strongbow's name.
Oh, very good. So there's a French sort of a background.
Yeah,
to
so
you,
Norman background there from the name Brown. So it can be as simple as tracking your name. Even Donegan was Nigunnigan, which in Irish means the brown-haired chieftain. So it was one of the 7 tribes first set up in Ireland who had a chief that had brown hair.
Ah, okay. So we're looking for stories, are we?
We're looking for stories, and what we also want to know is genetics. Do you have a certain physical attribute that's been passed down through the generations?
Well, you do.
I don't know.
I mean, you don't look Irish.
I don't look Irish.
Okay.
I always get this all the time. People think I'm French or Polish or German, and particularly my nose. So my nose, we have pictures going all the way back from my great-grandparents to my great-great-grandparents. We all have the exact same nose.
Go on.
Passed down. My dad has it. My grandparents
Isn't that
have
amazing?
it. Every one of us, you can just tell by looking at us, we all have the exact same physical nose.
Isn't it fascinating altogether? JR did a bit of digging into, well, his background, but it sort of merges with my background. But sadly, there's no royalty there that I could discover, or no?
Oh, I found pedigree in mine.
Oh, of course you did.
Up in Wicklow.
course.
So I was quite delighted with myself. We apparently had a big farm up there.
Oh.
So I was very impressed by that. But
Oh,
I didn't keep it in the family, though.
Well, sadly, we didn't. But I must try my father's side. Who knows? There might be something more.
Yeah, it's so interesting because when you think about it, you've such a large range, grandparents, great-grandparents, 2 sides on every one of them. So you could be related to anyone and not know.
But surely there has to be royalty somewhere.
Back in the tribes, you could have been the tribe next to my tribe.
Yeah, we were probably at odds with one another at some stage or other. All right, so if people want to contact us, Leanne?
Let us know. We want to know all about your family's laundry through the past, and we want to know about that idea of, does someone in your family look remarkably like someone from the past as well?
Oh, that's very interesting. Now, you see, you're bringing me back memories now, because there was an old sepia photograph at home of my great-grandmother. Now, my Aunt Rosaria's probably listening. She might correct me on this. But she was the image of my mother, as if my mother had dressed up in really old-fashioned clothing.
Yeah, it's so scary when you think about
It was a remarkable
it.
likeness, really
Like,
remarkable.
I look exactly like my great-grandfather. It could be me with a wig on. It's that alike. And it's so scary when you look, because I never met him. never knew him. But just by looking at a photograph, it's crazy how you get the features.
Isn't that fascinating altogether? All right, thanks, Leanne. If you want to talk to Leanne, 1800 938 007, and it won't cost you a penny because it's a free phone number. News and information's coming up.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24 111.
Thanks, Pat, and welcome back to the final hour of Tip Today. Now, I don't think we've ever had as many people in the studio as we have right now, but a multi-generational concertina group in Burn Court has been rehearsing diligently in recent months, building connections between members of all ages along the way. The group was founded by musician and teacher Linda Gardner, and I'm delighted to be joined in the studio by a whole gang of people. You're all extremely welcome, and great to see you all, and thank you. And we found chairs for everybody as well. Linda, can I go to you first of all? Will you tell me about how this came about, this wonderful group that we have here?
Yeah, thanks for having us, Fran, this morning. I suppose I teach a lot of the ladies here individual concertina classes, and as time was going on, I recognised that there was a bit of a gap in where people could play. Like in Ireland, if you play Irish music, playing in the pub is very common and very normal. But if you don't necessarily want to do that, and if you're only maybe a beginner or an intermediate player, you don't have as many opportunities. So around last September, I was speaking with Mary O'Gorman, who started learning the concertina herself. She's the choir director in Ballyporeen, and I kind of suggested maybe we could, do a slot in the carol service at Christmas. Yeah. So we all kind of worked towards the carol service, and we prepared a couple of pieces, and I arranged them using harmonies and counter melodies and different drones and effects like that, and it kind of has taken off from there, and we've played a few performances since then, and we're playing again in June at a festival, so it's going great.
I think it's fantastic. The concertina, it's a wonderful instrument. I associate it more with County Clare, Linda, for some reason or other. But
yes, but you're right there, Fran, but I suppose the thing about it is that it's become popular all over the country now, but it's nice in South Tipperary where we are. One of my intentions is to really fly the flag for playing concertina in this area. It definitely is played very much in the west of Ireland, and it is a traditionally a Cllr instrument. But I just think that it has such versatility as an instrument. You're spanning 3 octaves. You've got that reedy, bassy sound that gives it a very grounded feeling, and it's very traditional sounding as well. So, and the possibilities are endless.
Endless with it, indeed. And without being sexist, it would have been a woman's instrument throughout the generations, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I guess probably it's very portable, it's very accessible, it's light. My dad's mother played the concertina, and then he learnt it from her. And
the great Bobby Gardner, of course,
So he would have been he would have grown up in the tradition in Clare where it was mostly women that played it. Now, it just so happens that we're a group of women. We're not against men or anything. We're not. We're all pretty feminist.
You have one male member who is blessed among you all, of
Today,
course.
now we have Joe, Celine's husband, which we're delighted that he's joining us for one of the selections. But in general, there's, of course, men and women are playing equally the concertina these days.
Right, brilliant. Will you introduce us to would you run around the crew?
Yes, of course.
How many are with us today, by the way?
Well, we've actually only about half the group today. There's a few people who are abroad, and we want to say get better to Anne, who's listening as well. So we've Marion Landers, originally from Mayo, but living in Carrick-on-Shore. Maria Ryland O'Brien. And we have Trassa Nick Diarmida. Then we have Martha Lynch. Over here we have Mary O'Gorman, Celine Ryan, Mairead O'Brien, Anne Nevin, and Niamh Kennedy behind me, and we
Brilliant.
have Joe Ryan playing with us on the guitar.
Excellent, and you are all so welcome here, and it's great to have a happy piece on the programme for a change. It's normally doom and gloom we're dealing with. Would you play something for us, and then we'll chat again?
We will, of course, yeah.
What are you going to do first?
We're going to start off with a nice piece that was composed by Johnny McCarthy from Cork, and it's called Cushnacht.
Excellent, in your own time. Done. Well, what a beautiful sound. What a beautiful sound indeed. Trassa is with us. Nick Jermida, who has been the voice of trad music on Tipp FM for many years. Trassa, lovely to have you here with us today as well. Did you always play concertina, Trassa?
No, Fran, I didn't. I took it up in later life when I retired, really, and I absolutely love it. It's one of those instruments, as Linda said, you can carry it around with you, but it's so lovely to be able to play with a group.
Yeah, of course.
And Linda's group, what I love about this is the fact that I'm sitting beside a girl here who's in 6th class, and there are people my age and maybe older as well, which it's wonderful. And I suppose that's the all-encompassing thing about music.
Isn't it great? And is there a big social element to it as well?
Well, there is really. We meet once a month and we have our little tunes and we have a cup of tea and the biscuits and all the rest. So it is a great social outlet as well as everything else. And it's good for your brain, I think. And like anything, I suppose, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. I'm not a brilliant concertina player, but certainly playing in the group, it gives you confidence, and it's a wonderful thing. Recommend it to everybody.
Absolutely. Marion has been hiding away in the corner over there.
I'm doing my best.
Marion, it's lovely to see you today, and thank you for being part of this today as well. Did I hear you were originally from where, Marion?
From County Mayo,
From County Mayo, okay.
Yeah.
Was there a traditional music scene up there?
There was, but not the concertina.
Oh, right, okay.
And mostly accordion and fiddle and tent whistle, but the concertina, no. I took it up actually during COVID.
Yeah.
When I was looking for something to do, and I was browsing on YouTube, and I came across Cashly Nagown, and she was giving online lessons. So I decided, my granddaughter had given it up, and there was an old one sitting in a corner, so I just decided to try it out. It wouldn't cost me anything. So, but playing on your own, the onlines were good, but playing on your own, well, you know, wasn't helpful. And I thought I was doing grand until I heard other people, and then I found out. So I googled again, and I came across as you said, the great Bobby Gardner's daughter. Yeah. I heard she was giving lessons, and I said she must be good if it's anything like the father.
Absolutely.
So I checked in with, and I never looked back since. And here I am now playing on Tipp FM, and I might be one of the older ones, trust. So I don't know.
Not a bit of it, Marion, indeed. And from a social point of view, has it made a big difference to you? Because you've made friends, I guess, Marion.
Absolutely, yeah. And it has given me the confidence. Looking up, you know, other groups now. There's a group playing on a Thursday night in the Railway Barn, a group playing in McCormick, and so it gave me confidence to join up with them as well as you know, this group, and like I said, meeting everybody here and all the different ages, and it's brilliant.
That's great. And would you practice a lot? Don't mind. We'll get Linda to close her ears on this for a moment.
Well, Linda might look very sociable and very friendly, but you need to practice.
Oh, go on, tell us more, Mary. She's tough, is she?
Oh no, I'll be going back there. I won't say any more now. She's lovely, and her patience is unreal. I mean, it really is. She's just tremendous patience. And a lovely personality. So it's lovely. It's not like work, and it's not hard work. It's pleasure.
Right, but you're enjoying it hugely as well. I think Mairead is going to talk to me as well. We might move that microphone for Mairead, and I'll move my own here as well, because I'm sort of jumping around the place. Mairead, what has it meant to you to be part of this? Just come a little closer to that for me if you can at all. Thank you.
It's a wonderful opportunity to actually to develop, you know, playing jigs and reels is one thing, and but you know, we've harmony now and everything, and it just makes it so much more interesting to just another development in it, like another.
And it's more musical, I suppose.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And when did you start playing?
Well, I suppose I played the piano when I was in school and young and learning and doing exams and things. And one day I went to town to buy a chest of drawers or something, and I saw a piano accordion in a shop. And I forgot the chest of drawers, and I arrived home with the piano accordion, and I could be heard 2 parishes away. But I was actually down in Tipperary in Ballyglass with Mitch Stoncoltis when I saw a girl playing the concertina there, and coincidentally sometime after that I was down there, and there was an elderly gentleman from Tipperary town who used to make bowrons, but he had a concertina for sale. Yes. So I bought the concertina off of him, and I said, if I really liked it in 6 months or a year, I'd get a better one. So eventually then I did, and as it happened then, I inherited my mother's best friend when she died, and so they Mara Fitzgerald, and so she was starting a little group, so we play in our houses. Each week we go around from house to house. We're about 30 years at it.
What a lovely idea.
So we go to the pub once a month then to play on a Sunday afternoon, and that's kind of what. Yeah. That's how my musical journey, as this.
And have you fallen in love with the instrument itself?
Oh, I have. Yeah. Oh, the music kind of, no, not that I'm very good at it either, like, but you feel most of the tune kind of falls out of it in one way or another. But I did actually, when I did buy the concertina, I did actually decide to actually go to Linda to learn, you know, where the best way to play it, you know, whether you draw an E or push an E or various other, you know, style things. And then when Linda went off to see the world, I went to Mary McNamara for other lessons, and I'm kind of, I'm in and out of various workshops then thereafter that.
Is that very good? Yeah. And can I ask you about the social side of it? I mean, you know,
oh, sure, yeah. It is
wonderful characters, I guess, involved.
Great characters, and I often said you never know anybody's second name or what they do, but you know that it's Mary or Joan or whatever, and she plays the concertina or whatever instrument, and that's such a thing as her tune. Yeah. So you kind of, it's a great equaliser.
So everybody has a party piece, is that it? As well as collective
they have
pieces,
everybody has, you know, you'd find in sessions that, oh, that's such one's tune, I won't play that now. Right. She'll start that, I know she will.
Very good indeed, yeah. Can you, I'll just push that mic, if it's okay, back to Linda for just a moment. We were just talking there about, okay, the music is so important, but the social side of it, Linda?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I would say that everyone here that I'm teaching and playing with, you know, monthly now, and working towards performances, we've all become friends. There's a lovely connectivity in music that you don't think about when you start off. You just think, I'd like to play music, I'd like to learn music, I'd like to take up an instrument. But actually, as time goes on, you realise that this is such a great connector. And, you know, with all the different things going on in the world, and, you know, when you turn on the news every day, it's lovely to have a joyful experience that you can look forward to, that you can work towards and make friends from, go to festivals, go to performances, and really just, I suppose, work on and develop your own confidence, because people are, sometimes we're all stuck in our heads. We think that I can't do this, or I'm not good enough, or I'd never be able to play in public.
Yes.
You know, I'm going to just stay in the background. But when you challenge those self-limiting beliefs, that's a bit of my life coaching has come in handy with this also.
Sure,
and
yeah.
it's great to see that, you know, there is no age limit. There is no this idea that you have to be learning since you were a child, or that you need to read music or come from a long lineage of musicians. That's not true. Anyone can learn if they have the interest and the passion and the determination, and every person here today has that.
And Tras's point is interesting, that if somebody had to come in here and play solo today, it's very daunting. The nerves would be attacking. But when you come in here as a group, everybody can enjoy it then, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, especially with the ensemble, the idea of an ensemble is that we have parts, we have harmonies, we have sections in the selections that give everyone the opportunity to show their own strengths.
Yes.
You know, playing the same melody line, the same tune in the same way, that's okay, but that doesn't mean it's the only way.
Yes.
Arranging pieces and coming up with harmonies and being more creative, I think, is interesting to the ear.
It expands your musicality and I suppose your appreciation of music then, as well as everything else. You're going to play a second piece for us?
Yes, we're going to play
what are
3
you going to
polkas, Liam Roach's Polka Gananum and White's Polka.
Very good indeed.
Thanks,
So,
Fran.
In Your Own Time, or Concertina Ensemble. a mighty sound. Absolutely fantastic. Many congratulations to you all. It's lovely. I see already people wondering about joining up, Linda. I mean, can people join you?
Yeah, absolutely. We're hoping to build on the group that we have, so that it gives you more, I suppose, possibilities for harmonies and parts and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm on Facebook, Linda Gardner Music. You can look me up there, and I can give you all the information about the monthly rehearsals and how the whole thing operates.
Very good indeed. So when is the next outing? When is the next?
We are playing at the Cllr Wellness Fest on the 28th of June at around 3 o'clock, I think it's on. So we're actually preparing for that at the moment. So that'll be lovely day.
All right, well, many congratulations. As I say, it's a lovely, lovely sound, and lovely to have you all in studio. Thank you very much indeed for that. Will you give my best to your parents as well, Linda?
Thanks very much.
Lovely to see you. All right, congratulations. We'll take a break. We're back with more in just a moment.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puckon. Now is the time to pick up your next van. From the award-winning Peugeot Partner van to the Expert and the load-lugging Boxer van. We have big vans, high-roof vans, long-wheelbase vans. You'll find them all at Slattery's Garage Puckon. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puckon. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
And you're very welcome back to Tip Today, and we're still sort of getting everybody on the way out of the studio. So 1800 938 007 if you want to speak to Leanne this morning, and of course you can text and WhatsApp 083 311 3311. Now, more than 3 times as many packages of illegal or fake medicines were seized in Ireland last year compared to the previous year, including weight loss drugs, sedatives and impotence medication. Now, authorities seized nearly 14,000 individual packages imported by people into Ireland, and that's up almost 5,000 on the year before. Now, it's an issue that has come to the attention of our good friend Dr. Mary Ryan, who's a consultant endocrinologist, and Mary joins me now. Good morning to you, Mary.
Good morning, Fran. How are you doing this beautiful morning?
I'm very well indeed, Mary. Lovely to talk to you this morning. This has come to your attention, Mary, particularly where the fake weight loss drugs are concerned.
Totally, yeah. So, like, we would, obviously obesity is a big problem, and I'm dealing a lot as an endocrinologist with type 2 diabetes, so I would prescribe Ozempic and Mounjaro and Wegovy quite a lot. But because of the cost of them, the cost is prohibitive. I mean, the patients with diabetes are all covered for Ozempic, but Mounjaro and Wegovy are not covered, and they're very expensive. I mean, the cost of Mounjaro is about $300 on average a month, and Wegovy is about $240 on averaging, and this is a huge cost. And obviously, with the way the lifestyle has gone now with the diesel and everything, people are finding this very difficult to afford. So unfortunately, that then people will turn to getting it cheaper. And if you're not getting it through a pharmacist, there's always a huge concern. Does it even contain the ingredient at all? And one of my colleagues actually looked at this and found that some of them didn't even have any of the active ingredients. And that's the real worry, because, if you have people going on the black market, the reason things go through a pharmacy and, that they have to be FDA approved is for the safety of everyone. And certainly, yes, the government need to look at the cost. I mean, if we prevent obesity, prevent diabetes, we're preventing huge amounts of complications down the road. So they need to take a broader lens and look at bringing down the price of these and making it affordable for people. But you see, when it's too costly, you're driving patients to the black market, and unfortunately the black market isn't regulated, and it's worrying then, because you don't know what people are getting. They're paying big money for this, and we don't really know if what they're taking is safe, and in some cases they have been analysed and they had no active ingredient at all.
And I suppose even worse, Mary, if there were to be ingredients in there that could be harmful to people.
That's the big worry. That's the big worry. Absolutely. Yes. What's the mixtures they're using, etc. What else are they putting in instead? That's the big worry. So I would urge everyone, and I've said it to all my patients, whatever you do not get it on the black market, because it's not regulated. We don't know what you're taking. And certainly, we've been making, saying to the government, they've got to do something, because, patients really are anxious to be healthy. We all want to live healthy and long, and patients that need to take these drugs need to take them. And yes, of of course, they're all doing their best to eat healthily. Yes, they're all doing their best to exercise. But you've got a lot of patients, for example, who might have, loads of hormonal issues. And I deal with this all the time. We have somebody who's obesity, but they've got, a thyroid problem, and they've polycystic ovaries, and they've a whole lot of other issues going on. So we've got to stop being judgmental on obesity, because there's a lot of other issues going on. It's not all about overeating. They might be eating really healthy, and it could be a hormonal problem. So they need to get those drugs to help them reduce the weight, and that's where the government needs to step in.
And it makes economic sense as well, Mary, when you think about it, because we have too many people going to our hospitals and taking up beds and trolleys and all that sort of thing. Whereas if we try and keep people out of hospitals, it would be...
That's the big secret. I mean, if you reduce weight, even a stone of weight, you've brought down blood pressure, you've brought down the weight on your weight-bearing joints, which is your knees and your hips. So you're reducing the risk of replacement of knees and hips down the road. We know that reducing weight reduces cancer. Yes, there's an awful lot of cancers. So that's the reality. So the government really needs to take a bigger lens view on this and say, right, these patients who are coming in and wanting to get these are actively trying to get healthier. So, they need to be able to access these drugs at an affordable price so they can take them, get their weight down, and then that means they have less reduce risk of cancer, reduce the risk of diabetes, reduce the risk of heart disease, blood pressure, and also arthritis down the road. And now some of the studies are saying that it's reducing inflammation as well, which makes total sense because the fat cell is very inflammatory. So by reducing weight, you'll also reduce inflammation and therefore reduce disease. So there's huge benefits from reducing weight, and anything that will help a patient to lose weight, but it has to be regulated, and they've got to be getting it, through a pharmacy.
But we're a few years down the road in terms of these weight loss drugs now. Are you satisfied, Mary, that they are useful and that people should take them when necessary?
Yes, absolutely. And what we have done and what I have done, I've been using them a long time now, is I have prescribed them, but I've always said to the patient, we do this in conjunction with you eating healthily.
Yes.
And, we look and sort out all the other hormone problems that are as well. So we get everything right. And then once they lose the weight, a lot of them are able to wean it off, actually. But you've sorted everything else out as well. So I know there are very few patients that might need to stay on it a long time. But in most cases, once you do everything together. So in other words, it's about getting the diet right, getting the hormones right, and also them taking the injection. Then that helps hugely. And once they get the weight off, they can actually wean it off. So that's what we have been doing, and it's been a great success. So, but I really think, for a patient who's coming in and they're 3 stone overweight, it's to have something just to help get off the weight, and then it motivates them to lose more, and then with that less weight they're able to exercise. So it's hard to be saying to somebody who's 3 stone overweight, saying go off and exercise, and they're short of breath and they're gasping. When you lose the weight, a stone, it makes an awful difference.
Of course it does.
Ups their metabolism. Yeah, it's all connected.
We have 3 or 4 different options on these drugs now. Is it a case that some suit some people and not others, or do you have a preference around them, Mary? Is it?
Exactly, yeah. So Ozempic is used for type 2 diabetes. Now, for patients listening in there, like you're so right, you can't treat everyone the same way. Yeah. So there's sort of 3 doses on that. But some patients might do great just on the baby dose. Some patients need to go to the middle dose, and some do fine on the high dose. And now there's even a higher dose of that coming out, the 2 milligram, which is terrific that we have that. But you'd have a lot of patients that might have lost loads of weight on just a half dose, and when you put it up, they get sick and they get nauseous. So it's all about finding the right dose for the right patient, and what suits you mightn't suit your neighbour. Do you know, that sort of way? The Ozempic is for type 2 diabetes only, and now, as I said, they have the 2 milligram dose, which is wonderful. Yes. Then you have the Mounjaro, which is the other one, but it's very, very expensive, but it does less sickening than the patients prefer it to Ozempic if they're using it for, to help lose weight, because it's less sickening, but it is very expensive. And then the Wegovy is similar in price, or a little bit more expensive than Ozempic, but it's a higher dose, or it will be equivalent now to the high Ozempic. And that, again, I think when you find the right dose for the patient, it's all about finding the dose that suits the patient, and they're not getting the side effects of, getting sick and nauseous. And the whole way they work, you see, is they delay gastric emptying, and they hit this GLP-1 receptor, so it increases insulin, and also just reduce your appetite. So that's how they work. So I think the whole secret is to get the right dose for the patient, and that's what I've seen over the last 5 years, and patients have done remarkably well. But I always tie it in with getting the hormones right, the thyroid right, and training the brain to eat healthy. And I don't think we can emphasise this enough, because we're all human. So we just have to all start at, when we're shopping once a week with the trolley, do not bring the rubbish in. And then when you want to have your treat twice a week, go out and have it, or else just bring in that small treat. But stop bringing packets of stuff in, because the packets is what you bring in. A packet of a 6-pack of crisps, they're so bloody tempting. You'll eat them. If you don't bring even one packet in, that's all you're going to eat. That's where we need to love ourselves, really, and not be tempting ourselves. So it's about doing the whole lot.
You're absolutely right indeed. But again, you need supervision for any of these drugs, and that's part of.
Absolutely.
I mean, even if you were buying proper drugs online without supervision, it's dangerous, Mary.
Absolutely, because some patients, for example, you have to check Goldbach, or you have to check hormones, bloods. One drug might work well, another mightn't. All this sort of thing. Everyone is different, and I think in medicine for too long everyone was looked like we were all in the same box. We're not. We're all very different. So what suits one doesn't suit another. But it's so important to keep people monitored, and for the most part, they are very, very safe, so long as you're on what we think you're on. But buying them on the black market is absolutely dangerous, and I would absolutely not do it, because you don't know what you're taking.
Of course, yeah.
It's not at all regulated, and forking out money for something that could harm you is dangerous.
A number of our listeners wanting to know, how do we get an appointment with Dr. Mary Ryan? Well, you're a consultant, so you have to be referred, I guess, Mary, don't you?
Yes, that's right. Through your GP. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You wanted to mention a concert before we go, Mary.
I did, if you don't mind. So,
no problem.
Mary Friend, and I know you've had some of them on, Mary Friend and Mary Gargan and co, they're all organising a fantastic concert with Michael English next Monday, Easter Monday, or Bank Holiday Day Monday, the 4th of May, in St Mary's Church of the Rosary. And they're doing it for two great causes. Sarcoma Ireland, which is this rare connective tissue tumour, which is very aggressive. But they obviously we need more research on that. So they're doing it for Sarcoma Ireland, and also Pieta House, which is, I've referred to Pieta so much as a doctor for people who are, self-harming or for suicide, and they do so much counselling and help to the families as well. They're brilliant. So both Sarcoma Ireland and Pieta House, that's where all the funds for the concert are going, with Michael English next Monday evening in St Mary's of the Rosary at 7:30. And Michael English is a fantastic entertainer, as we all know. He's also very generous when it comes to charity. So I'm really looking forward to it. And sure, for a bank holiday Monday evening, it's lovely to have something decent on, and you can't beat the music. So I'm certainly looking forward to it. But the fact it's such a good cause, I really want people to buy the tickets and support it.
Will you sing a song yourself, Mary?
I will, most definitely. I will. I'll have to go in and rehearse with Michael now in the sacristy and try and organise.
Well, he's a lovely fellow, so I'm sure.
Will you join us, Fran?
Wouldn't I love to? But I'm away playing for dancing someplace else, Mary. You see, all the usual old stuff. I miss everything.
Oh, that's a pity.
You look after yourself, Mary. Thank you very much indeed.
I will. Lovely to talk to you, Fran.
You as always. Thank you. That's Dr. Mary Ryan, there, consultant endocrinologist, of course, with her practice largely in Limerick. Now, I was speaking to my old friend Trasanic Diarmida there, who was part of our concertina ensemble, but she was also telling me about something else she's involved in, which is the Clontempo Choir. And they are presenting the Dvorak's Messe in D on Sunday, the 10th of May at 7 p.m. at Old St. Mary's Church in Clonmel. Now, it's a fantastic list of soloists, really some top singers there. Joe Roach is a tenor, Polly Roach, soprano, Gina Oberoy, I hope I have the pronunciation of that right, is a mezzo soprano. Rory Dunn will be there as a baritone, and the Wind Quintet will be the accompaniment. So it sounds like a wonderful night of classical music. So Sunday the 10th of May, 7 p.m, Old St. Mary's Church in Clonmel, and admission there is €15, and the concert, I'm told, is made possible through the support of Tipperary County Council and Clonmel Credit Union of Parishes as well. We'll take a break, right back to you.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tipp today on 1-800-938-007.
Now, we were talking to Dr. Mary Ryan there about the temptation that we bring into the home with the crisps and the chocolate. Frank was on, he says it's the multi-packs that work out a lot cheaper that causes the problems, especially for me. He says, oh, Frank, I know all of it. Sure, I'm the leavings of it, if you could see the state of me and all of that. Anyway, Tipperary County Council has warned of a crisis situation as the fire station in Newport is in danger of closing if more trained firefighters are not secured. Newport Councillor Fiona Bonfield joins me now. Good morning to you, Fiona.
Hi, Fran. How you doing?
Great to talk to you again. This is a very serious situation, isn't it?
It is, Fran, and I suppose it's something that has been brewing for a couple of years. You know, we've been talking about this in Newport since 2022, and unfortunately, up to now, there wasn't any light coming at the end of the tunnel, but we did have our public meeting on Sunday night last at Newport Community Centre, and I have to say it was fairly well attended, and I suppose the majority of the people that did attend it came because they were interested in the job in question. There was some community representatives there as well, you know, who did talk and just say how vital this service is to the town, but I'm glad to say it was a positive meeting, and I would be very hopeful that we will have some retained firefighters as a result of the meeting on Sunday evening.
Now, the crewing levels should be at 12 firefighters for that area and to operate efficiently and effectively there. What is the current crewing level?
The current crewing level there is 4, but there is a further 2, I think, that are going through the process. You know, like they have done their interview, they have passed the training test, and some of them they're about to start the training element of it. So, you know what? I am very hopeful. I mean, I think a show of hands we had 8, and I've had a couple of calls myself prior to the meeting for some people that couldn't actually make the meeting on Sunday night, but they would be very interested in the role as well. So, look, I would be very hopeful that, you know, we will find the numbers to hold on to the station. They're saying, the Chief Fire Officer was saying that to run the service right, you would need 12, but you could operate off a team of 10. So, look, it was important to have the meeting, friend, because I suppose a lot of the meeting don't really know how the fire service works, you know, and I think that was important. I did say to the team when we had them in at our district meeting lately, you know, come out to the community, give a presentation of the way it works, let the community know what's involved. And I have to say, a lot of people at the meeting didn't really know the way it worked, but it's fantastic to see that. Look, I would be very hopeful that we'd hold on to the station in Newport following the meeting on Sunday night.
And you know, I mean, that's a big catchment area there, and you know, a lot of people from there deciding to live in Newport and work in Limerick and the like. So it's a growing area, is it not, Fiona?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, friend, and going to grow again.
Yeah.
So it's important that we do hold on to any service that we have in the town. But I suppose, friend, you know, today, the way people's lives are, you know, we have a lot of people in the town of Newport, they work full time. But I think they didn't really understand how flexible the role as a retained firefighter can be. And there was actually a couple of female firefighters from Burstacane Station and Nina Station, and they just outlined how, look, they were working in jobs, and they decided, look, they always were interested in the fire station. They took the bullet and they looked into it, and, you know, they did the training, they signed up for it, and they said it's the best decision they've ever made. And actually one of the girls actually has a family, you know, so she's able to do the job. But I think it was important. I honestly don't think the community around realised that it is flexible, that you're a week on and you're a flexible week the week after. You can actually be on call the week after if it does suit. There is availability there that you can swap if you're on your week off, you know, that if you know in time that you can have standby, that you actually can, at a crisis point if something at home happened, that you actually can take somebody else to fill the role. So, you know, it is important that we outlined what way it works and that, you know, how flexible it is and how it can be flexible.
Of course, yeah. What is the age profile there? What is there a cut-off point?
I asked that question myself at the meeting, and there really isn't. I mean, you can go up to retirement age, you know.
As long as you're fit and able to do the job, I suppose.
Exactly. And, you know, and then I asked, you know, roughly, you know, we've a lot of people in Newport now that actually work from home a lot of the time, and I asked the question, you know, I know you can't say it depends on the call in question, but how long would you be out on a call? And I know you could have maybe a number of calls the one day, but that's not always the case. But they said it's on average maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. Do you know what I'm saying? So, you know, the flexibility is there. But look, I would be very confident that we'll hold on to the station in Newport.
Well, hopefully so indeed. Of course, you have to have employers buy into that then and, you know, give free time and give time off to firefighters too, Fiona.
Yeah, and you know what? We actually had a new recruit in Newport there. I think he's in it maybe a year now or maybe 2 years, but actually his employer did come on board and gave him the flexibility. So it can work. It can work.
All right. Well, we wish you well with that, and we'll be following the story. Fiona, thanks for your time today. Thank you. Good morning to you. Bye-bye. Councillor Fiona Bonfield speaking to us there. 083 311 3311. Just to remind you again, of course, you can email us at any time, and that's tiptoday@tippfm.com. Leanne is with me. Hi, Leanne.
Good morning, Fran.
What have you got for us?
Well, I have a lot of messages in looking for pictures of my nose, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I promise you I am absolutely beautiful.
She is absolutely beautiful indeed. So are you going to put pictures up on
No, I can't be showing off the nose. If they see me in public, they'll spot it, but don't comment on it or I might get offended. But we've had loads in on that idea. Again, that idea we spoke of Dove Irish.
Yes.
A lot of people getting in touch with parents, children, black hair, black eyebrows, really, really sallow skin, and some have traced it back to Spanish soldiers through the years.
Yeah.
So a lot of connections to Spain. Someone also made a very interesting point why I might look French. It's all about me at the moment, isn't it?
And rightly so too. Rightly so. Well, why?
The Irish and the Celts are so close, or the Celts and the French are so closely linked that some of the paintings found during Celtic Ireland were actually found in caves in France.
Yes.
So the Scottish and the French are our cousins. So it was a thing when the world was all a landmass, that the Celts before time travelled to France, Scotland and Ireland.
You're going to get notions about yourself now.
I'm going to get notions. I'm going to get French notions. They always say the French know best, so that makes sense.
Don't they just indeed? What else are you getting?
We've heard from our archaeologist, Donal O'Regan. He's prepping a very interesting piece for us in the next few days on that connection we were talking about earlier. Thurles having very strong connections with both King Charles and Donald Trump.
Oh, right, okay.
It's like that piece we did. Remember we had the April Fool's Day about Donald Trump and Nina. And next thing we had
there was a connection.
So they say you're only 7 people away from anybody. So that's very interesting.
Kind of scary as well as everything.
We heard from Betty as well, who found some very interesting results in her DNA test. So she's going to come on to it with us and give us the rundown. And we've also had that argument online we were speaking about the other day, that a lot of people won't get DNA tests because 1, they're afraid of the government using it, and 2, a lot of companies get bought out by other companies and have tried to sell them back their own DNA as facial products.
Do you know, life is becoming so complicated. I want to make room for this piece. You're going to talk to us about Ethel Corby. Now, those of us of a certain age in Cashel will remember Miss Corby, but you've delved back into the archives. What have you got?
Yes, so we've delved back into the archives into the 80s when Ethel sadly passed away.
Yeah.
But they found out she was an aristocratic Protestant from Cashel.
I'm not surprised about it. She was a beautiful woman and there was a touch of real class about her.
So a lot of people said they really didn't know Ethel, her story or where she came from.
Yeah.
But she donated a sonic X-ray machine to the hospital after her death. She left money to the community. So after she passed away, they went into her story.
All right, so we're going to have a listen to this right now.
Oh, it's fascinating.
All right, let's have a listen to at least some of this anyway.
She was one of life's great ladies, Miss Ethel Corby, of a well-got family which goes back generations in the town of Cashel. Here she's seen taking part in the local hunt at the age of 60, and she hunted for many a day afterwards. It was a good 40 years later that she went to her reward in her 100th year. She was well known and well liked locally as a character, capable of being crusty, or at any rate curtly efficient, but kindly behind it all. She lived well, it's true, with a large household staff, though no family. But nobody could have guessed that when she passed on, she would leave the town £500,000. Roughly half of that went to projects like church restoration, school services and other community services. And the other half, more or less, went to the local committee of the National Council for the Blind. That money is prudently invested, and now over £100,000 of it has been provided to buy this machine. A sonic scan which can literally see inside you, give doctors an instant TV picture of what's going on inside you. Surgeon at Our Lady's Hospital in Cashel is Mr. John Farrell.
I think it is a wonder of medical science anyway. It provides information that is now considered an essential in any general hospital. The system in question is an ultrasound, which doesn't involve any radiation as such for the patient, and therefore it is largely risk-free. It's used for instance, in maternity practice for assessing infant development before birth. And it is, in the context in which we're using it here, it's primarily for looking at soft tissue structures. X-rays look at solid structures such as broken bones. This will look at soft tissues such as lumps and bumps. And
so what does this do for you that you weren't able to do before?
It provides us with a vast range of diagnostic information. For instance, if I was going to operate on a patient whom I suspected as having, say, a cancer of the stomach, one of the areas that you always worry about is that the cancer has spread into the liver, and therefore you can assess the liver before operating on the patient, see whether if it has spread in that area, and whether it is worth putting the patient to the distress of an operation, effectively unnecessarily.
The money left by Miss Corby has to be spent in Cashel, and the funds going through the Committee for the Blind must be spent on facilities to do with the blind. This machine can show eye and other conditions instantly, saving patients the worrying wait they had to suffer previously while tests were taken and then analysed.
We have 2 eye clinics a month here, which looks after the people of North and South Tipperary, North, both ridings. And these people obviously have difficulty getting around. The availability of this system allows them, as I said, the eye, of course, is a soft tissue structure. They can simply, by putting the transducer onto the eye, one can see into the eye. So even if the patient had a cataract, which would be difficult to see through with the ordinary examining instruments, in this instance you can see everything. You can see the cataract, you can see the detail of the eye behind the cataract, and therefore the patient, the condition can be diagnosed with complete accuracy in that kind of situation, and the person examining can then decide what further treatment the patient needs in that instance, whether they need surgery or whether they don't need surgery. The area that we were particularly looking at, of course, was your gallbladder, which shows up just there. You can see it as a cavity, and that is perfectly normal. There are no gallstones in it, so you don't need surgery, and that's at least some bit of good news.
In this examination, the surgeon was able to see the patient's heart on the left of the screen and the liver and kidneys towards the right. Dark areas are liquid-containing areas of the body, like blood vessels or the gallbladder. And because it can spot damage in soft tissue areas, it's invaluable in emergency situations.
And I've used it in patients who are severe road traffic accident problems, looking at, say, a ruptured spleen in the abdomen or other injuries of that kind of acute nature, where you get, say, as I said, it's a soft tissue structures that one looks at. So if that soft tissue structure has been ruptured or burst apart, then you can pick that up very frequently with this kind of information.
The machine generates its picture through the use of high-frequency sound. There is no radiation used, as there would, of course, be in the taking of X-rays. And that is a considerable advantage.
Now, there we're going to leave that piece, Leanne, but I mean, it's fascinating. That was her legacy, really, to the people of Cashel, yeah.
And there is more to the story, but you're going to have to wait for that. We can't give away all the goods in one day.
For sure.
She was a great woman.
But you know, you're going to bring back so many memories to the people of Cashel when you talk about Miss Corby, as we would not have known her as Ethel Corby. We would have known her as Miss Corby. She was always around the town in tweeds and pearls, and you know, she really looked quiet. Yeah.
And it's kind of inspiring, a piece we're going to look at next week. I'll give you a little clue before we do it, but we're going to ask people what they want their legacy to be.
Okay.
So when you leave this earth, what you want people to think of you and what you want to have left behind in your community.
That's a lovely idea, isn't it? And then to younger people around the Cashel area, her house, Miss Corby's house, was where Cian O'Carroll has his practice and his solicitor's practice there, which is near Aldi, just outside of Aldi there.
Yeah, I always wondered what was in there.
Yeah.
When I was going in and out of Aldi, I was like, there has to be a story there.
Yeah.
And I never knew any of this. So when I heard the clip and saw the pictures, it all just fell into place.
Yeah, but those of us in Cashel, we would never have really seen the house when we were growing up, because there was a big high wall and big high gates. That, in fact, I thought the house was an awful lot bigger than it turned out to be, you know. Yeah. But it's still a wonderful building there and beautifully preserved by Cian O'Carroll as well. So there you go. We might get Tom Wood to talk to us on that.
Yeah. Tom, if he's listening to this, he's going to know he's getting a call.
All right, thanks for that, Leanne. And that's it for me. Leanne produces always. Stephen has the time tunnel on the lunchtime show, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Look after yourselves. Bye-bye.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.